What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4 deciseconds. 81 This man is the head of a dimensional retrograde, please order in full. Forget it, it's only a matter of time before this day comes. In addition, you should inform Yaya and the others, and tell them that Marine is here, and ask them to come back and wait for me. Dean Riding turned back to the cabinet, took a bottle of fine wine, and then stood up. Okay, Master Dean Riding, I'll do it now. After that, the man ran out in a hurry. But Dean Riding didn't stay too long, he rushed outside with a jug of wine. At the same time, on the sea not far from the coast, 2 warships are cautiously approaching the Satan pirates' ship. Report to Dara Vice Admiral that there is no trace of anyone on the Satan pirates' ship, and it is estimated that all members have already landed on the island. One of the marine soldiers was standing in front of the ship, holding a binoculars, observing the Satan pirates' ship. And the Marine Vice Admiral named Dara was standing behind him. At this moment, he folded his hands on his chest, showing a confident look on his face. Ambush on the island. As long as we successfully take down the Satan pirates today, our promotion will not be far away. Dala shouted. Darla, not long ago was a rear admiral, because recently, he performed very well, and the marine executives were directly promoted to vice admiral. But now, in order to get more achievements, he is diligently catching pirates, and the pirates are nicknamed, Ghost Seeing Sorrow. Yes, after receiving the order, the warship began to accelerate towards the coast. The guns of the warships are all aimed at the ships of the Satan pirates. As long as they have the idea of trying to escape with the help of the ships, the gunfire of the warships will hit his ship indiscriminately. At the same time, Tushin Yaya, Thor, Retrograde, Ulquiorra Cipher, Ace Kano, Senju Hashirama, and Akunologia quickly gathered in the tavern after receiving the news. Are we really going to wait here for Dean Riding to come back? Thor sat on the chair and asked everyone worried. Everyone also looks at me, and I look at you. Otherwise, Ace Kano asked back. Thor sorted out what Dean Riding said, and said again. He seems to only say that Marine is here, let us come back to the tavern and wait for him, but he doesn't seem to say, don't let us follow. Since we're worried, why don't we go and see? Tushan said flatly. Yeah, Retrograde was the first to agree with Tushan Yaya's words. What about you? Thor looked at Akunologia and Ulquiorra Cipher, who were leaning against the wall with their eyes closed. I'm free, Ulquiorra Cipher said flatly. If you want to go, let's go together. Akunologia followed suit. Then let's set off quickly, lest Marine come here this time is not a simple thing. After Thor said that, he ran out in a hurry. Seeing this, the others slowly followed. Advertisement. Dean Riding over there. Shushasha. Dean Riding was heading cautiously towards the coast. He jumps very high, and every time he jumps up, he can see far away. Are there only 2 warships? Instead, there is no sign of Marine on the warships. Could it be that they landed on the island through another route? Dean Riding stopped, standing on the branches, thinking stand up. However, in the next second, his expression suddenly changed subtly. Yes, his observation Haki predicted the future, and after a few seconds, a bullet would shoot towards his forehead. Sure enough, a few seconds later, with a bang, a bullet shot towards Dean Riding's forehead at a speed invisible to the naked eye. However, Dean Riding didn't dodge. The moment the bullet hit his forehead, it was instantly ejected. Not far away, the marine sniper lying on the rock turned his head and reported to Dara and the others. Target hit. Darla was still nodding in satisfaction 1 second, but the next second, his face changed suddenly, because he saw, Dean Riding has come to the side of the sniper without anyone noticing. A hit was a hit, but I didn't die. The sniper raised his head in astonishment when he heard the word suddenly thought of next to him. At this time, Dean Riding also revealed a harmless smile towards him. Zero looking for flowers. The sniper was frightened and rolled several times in a row, quickly got into a posture, and pointed the sniper rifle at Dean Riding. As for Dean Riding, he is also very fast, deforming the barrel of a sniper rifle in 1 year. Then he dragged the barrel of the gun, and the sniper moved towards Dean Riding. However, he quickly realized that something was wrong, and quickly let go of the sniper rifle. But at this moment, Dean Riding's other hand had already picked up his neck and lifted it up. Finally, he looked at the group of Marines hiding in front of him, and said with a smile, I thought it was Sengoku who came. It seems, not. Darla also stood up now, and he said to Dean Riding with a serious face, have you ever heard of the name Ghost Sorrow? A ghost? What the hell? Dean Riding was slightly puzzled, could it be that this is the most powerful Marine in this era? He nodded thoughtfully, maybe it's really possible, after all, in this era, there are too few explanations in the original book. Are you Marine Admiral? HMPH, there's no need for Admiral to deal with you mob. Dara looked confident. At this time, the Marine soldier standing beside Dala panicked and said, Dala. Dara Vice Admiral, this person, I know him, he is 21. He is a member of the No Retrograde organization. The bounty offered by the boss is more than 500 million. He beat Vice Admiral Garp by a minute over a year ago. Upon hearing this, Dala's face turned pale, and he said stiffly, what, you said he defeated Garp in 1 minute more than a year ago? Yes, Dara Vice Admiral, that confrontation, Vice Admiral Garp, almost lost his life. It is said that because of Garp's tenacious vitality, he escaped in the end. The Marine soldier continued said. At this moment, Dara panicked. Although he was also a Marine Vice Admiral, compared with the strength of Sengoku and Garp, he was simply a world apart. His Marine Vice Admiral was acquired by relying on a few achievements, while Sengoku and Garp didn't care about small tasks at all, and they were chasing all pirates and. Point 82 This is explosive news, please order in full. While Dara's face changed suddenly, he couldn't help but start to comfort himself. Now, he started to make up his mind. Is it just beating Garp a year ago? Maybe the me now can also beat Garp a year ago. Quote. What's more, now I have not only mastered some of the Marine 6 styles trials, but also mastered the armed colors and observation Haki in the first half of the year. Perhaps, now I can also have the power to fight. Dala kept looking for reasons to calm her inner fear. However, let's not say it, this method is quite effective. After a short analysis, most of the fear in his heart disappeared in an instant. If Dean Riding knew what he was thinking at this moment, he would have laughed out loud on the spot, and then complained. Is there still such an operation? If you let your imagination run wild, wouldn't you be invincible? At the same time as 870, the Marine sniper who was grabbed by Dean Riding's neck and lifted up struggled even more because he couldn't breathe. He kept waving his fists at Dean Riding. Dean Riding glanced at him from the corner of his eye, made him take the lunch box with a little force, and then threw it on the ground like throwing garbage. Damn. Seeing this scene, Dara couldn't help but germinate from the deepest part of his heart. As he said that, he jumped up and shouted, "Let me meet you, the so-called 500 million reward guy." Dean Riding watched him attacking him quickly, with a calm expression on his face. Excuse me, I have no interest in you at all. As he spoke, he raised his hand, and a purple fireball condensed instantly. After Dara saw this scene, he quickly stopped, his pupils constricted violently. Before he could escape, Dean Riding threw the huge purple fireball over. Son without mercy. With the fall of this voice, the purple fireball has landed. In an instant, a huge explosion sounded, accompanied by mushroom clouds soaring into the sky. The scorching air spreads in all directions. Smoke and dust slowly spread around. Dean Riding stared ahead. It seems that some things have become a big deal. I didn't expect it to be so vulnerable. He sighed softly. The dust mist gradually dissipated and became thinner. Dean Riding's blow took away 99% of his life. There are also a few Marines lying on the ground, dying, and Dara, who is covered in blood and has multiple burns on her body, kneeling on one knee. He sucked in the air greedily while watching the godlike Dean Riding. Strength. Is there such a big difference in strength? With my strength, I can barely withstand his seemingly random blow. Damn, is this the enemy Garp is facing? Advertisement. Dalamian said as if dead ashes. Goodbye. Dean Riding was just about to raise his hand and gather a fireball again. However, it was at this time that a voice came from not far behind. Dean Riding. Hearing this familiar voice, Dean Riding was slightly startled, and turned his head quickly. At this time, above the sky, one green and one black, two western dragons flew over. And this is exactly what Thor and Akunologia look like in their dragon form. Thor, Akunologia, Yaya, why are you all here? Dean Riding muttered in surprise. After a moment of effort, everyone landed on Dean Riding's side. This is also the first time that the dimensional retrogrades have assembled in more than a year. At the same time, on Marine's warship, Dara would bring a few people from the news agency with him every time he traveled. One is to record the heroic scene of him catching pirates. The second is to use the front page of the news agency to increase their popularity. As for the news agency, there is naturally no reason to refuse. What they lack most is the headlines of the news. Undoubtedly, Dala did not let them down either. Every time their heroic capture of pirates, their news could be the headlines of the news agency. However, for the sake of safety, unless there are special circumstances, the personnel of the news agency will generally not disembark from Marine's warship. As a member of a news agency looking for news everywhere, he is no stranger to Dean Riding. When Dean Riding first showed up, they recognized him immediately. Could this be the gathering of all members of Dimensional Retrograde? One of the staff members of the news agency said with a surprised face. 0. Another staff member of the news agency leaked a bright smile. This is big news, and the headlines this time will definitely be explosive news. Indeed, this time the information, the headlines must have been obtained by our group again. The Dimensional Retrograde organization, which has been quiet for more than a year, has reappeared. Is there any more attractive news than this? The answer is, definitely not. Dean Riding's presence, no doubt, had the news agency excited. However, the only pity is that Dara Vice Admiral seems to be sacrificed here. Such a result is indeed a pity, but there is no way to do it. After all, it is a very honorable thing to sacrifice for the people. In fact, it didn't matter to them whether Dala sacrificed or not. What they pursued wholeheartedly was the headlines of the news, and Dara's death could actually add another headline to them. Hey, after all, he is the one who created so many headlines for us. The only thing we can do is to help him and ask Marine for support. Maybe there will be even more unexpected big news later. As soon as this was said, the staff of the news agency became even more excited, and hurriedly walked towards the interior of the Marine warship, preparing to call for support. 4.3. No. Isn't it, Dean Riding, because of this incident, you made all of us gather. Thor looked at Dara who was left standing, and couldn't help raising his brows. Curious opened his mouth towards him. Dean Riding gave Thor an angry look, and then explained, the fact that I asked you to gather is not just because the Marine is attacking. What's that for? The retrograde asked curiously, raising its head. At this time, it's not appropriate to say that kind of thing. Dean Riding responded. However, as soon as Dean Riding's voice fell, Dara was swallowed up by a black energy ball in an instant, directly reduced to ashes, and danced with the wind. I don't think there are outsiders now, so I can say it. Akunologia said calmly. Point 83. This man's name resounds again in New World. Seek full order. Facing Akunologia's sudden move, everyone was slightly stunned, but they didn't care. Their eyes were cast on Dean Riding, waiting for his words. Call. Dean Riding sighed softly, originally thinking of going back to the tavern, drinking wine and talking about things. But, since they are eager to know, let's say it in advance. Anyway, the members are all here now. Then let's talk as we go. As Dean Riding said, he turned around and walked forward. Everyone followed behind, only Tushan Yaya was flying above. Marine comes once, and there will be a second time. Although we are not afraid of them, if we continue to stay here, then the aftermath of our next battle will turn the entire Dor Vega into ruins. Although Dor Vega is not a remarkable island, after all, I have lived here for more than a year, and I have cultivated some feelings. If someone chooses 10, Dean Riding naturally doesn't want him to become a ruin. After Dean Riding's voice fell, the retrograde said, so we are leaving here. Dean Riding nodded. To be precise, we are going to set sail. Then what is our purpose? Tushan Yaya, who was floating in the air, asked. Let's take risks, go and see all the interesting places in this world, and in the end, our goal will naturally be found. Why? Speaking of the latter, Dean Riding ended with an intriguing sentence. As the target you're talking about, the world government. Senju Hashirama added. Dean Riding nodded his head lightly, and continued, if the world government still wants to make trouble, then we will play with him to the end. In fact, Dean Riding's idea is not that great. Since Luo Jia told him about the interesting things in various places more than a year ago, he thought that he can explore it himself. Risk the fun stuff. For the world government, In fact, he doesn't have much hostility, and he doesn't have any intentions towards other pirates. Of course, most of the time, you just do everything according to your own mood. What do you think? Dean Riding asked them for their opinion. For more than a year, I have felt that I have no idea. After sailing, there will always be unexpected and interesting things. I agree with this very much. Ace Kano expressed his opinion. My thoughts are similar, but being in Dor Vega made me quit gambling, ha ha ha. Senju Hashirama chuckled. What else can we think about, Dean Riding? I feel that this kind of thing is completely up to you to decide. Tushan Yaya also echoed at this time. Okay, since you don't have a more interesting plan, then follow mine. A moment later, New World, inside a certain island. After Sengoku received Kong's call bug, his whole face changed suddenly, and he quickly called Crane and Garp who was training. Advertisement. The three sat in a circle. What's going on? Sengoku, with such an ugly expression, could it be that something big has happened? Crane stared at Sengoku and asked suspiciously. Sengoku didn't answer right away, but glanced at Garp from the corner of his eye. Garp looked depressed, and urged. No, Sengoku, what are you looking at me for? This matter, shouldn't it be related to me? Sengoku shook his head and explained. That's not true, I just hope that when I'm done, you have to take my advice. Garp was a little impatient, and nodded. All right, you should hurry up and talk. Not long ago, Kong brought me the news that the dimensional retrograde showed up in Dor Vega. Sure enough, as soon as Sengoku's voice fell, as he expected, Garp's face suddenly became serious. What's going on? Didn't Marine's intelligence personnel have already been pulled out of Dor Vega? Why did we suddenly get news of Dean Riding? Crane asked curiously. Our intelligence personnel did pull it out, that's right. The reason why we got information about Dean Riding is because, when Marine was hunting down the Satan pirates, he chased him to Dor Vega, and then they were wiped out by Dean Riding, Sengoku said slowly. The faces of Crane and Garp are not very good looking. Is there any other information? Crane continued to ask. According to what Kong said, the number of people next to Dean Riding this time is more than a year ago. When we reported, there were 2 more people, and both of them were men. It seems, they are trying to make some noise recently. The situation in New World has just stabilized not long ago, and it's going to be chaotic again. He said in a deep voice, the look of loyalty is Wutiao leaked out of his eyes. And at this moment, Garp, who had been silent since discussing Dean Riding, finally spoke. You said, has Dean Riding gotten stronger over the past year or so? To Garp's question, Sengoku and Suru cast meaningful glances at him at the same time. Idiot Garp, isn't what you're talking about nonsense? Maybe, this year, he's been practicing devil-like cultivation just like you. Crane complained to Garp. Of course, there is also a possibility that he has wasted more than a year, and his strength has naturally not increased. But I think this possibility is not great. Sengoku also expressed his opinion. His name appeared in New World again, but, Garp, you suffered a big 823 loss last time. This time, no matter what, you have to take it easy. He said to Garp. What she was afraid of was that after Garp learned about Dean Riding, in order to get revenge, without knowing Dean Riding clearly, Garp would foolishly run over to die. Yeah, Garp, Don't think that you are the only one who has become stronger. Maybe Dean Riding has also become stronger. You were lucky enough to save your life last time, but it will be very difficult if you have such a chance next time. It's hard to say. Sengoku also reminded him earnestly. Garp gave Crane and Sengoku a blank look at the same time, and then said angrily, although I'm a little reckless sometimes, I'm not stupid, would I run there to die for nothing? Who knows you? Suru and Sengoku responded with Garp in unison. Garp immediately leaked a loveless expression. However, the Dimensional Rebels organization is indeed evil. If there is a choice, then I hope that I will never fight against them in my life. Regarding Crane's words, Sengoku also nodded in agreement. After fighting against Dean Riding's gang of evil guys, and then fighting against Luogia pirates, I don't know why, but I feel inexplicably at ease. Quote. It's probably because the fighting moves of Dean Riding's guys are too unusual. After Sengoku said that, he laughed at himself self-deprecatingly. Point 84 Is there a possibility that the retrograde is a beautiful woman? On Dor Vega's side, since Dean Riding decided to set sail, everyone has been busy. Senju Hashirama and Ace Kano went to hand over their property in Dor Vega. Tushin Yayator returned to her place of residence and packed her things. After all, women must have a lot of things. Akunologia and Ulquiorra Cipher seem to have gone to help. As for whether to help Senju Hashirama or Tushin Yaya, Dean Riding doesn't know. As for the retrograde, it was brought back to the tavern by Dean Riding. He lifted a wooden box from under the bar and placed it on the bar. The retrograde looked at it curiously, and asked with doubts, what is this? Master Dean Riding. Devil fruit. For you. Dean Riding directly explained the meaning. Send. To me. Why? However, the retrograde was a little dazed, she didn't understand why Dean Riding gave herself devil fruit. However, she can't be blamed, because she doesn't even know that she can still upgrade. Dean Riding didn't explain it immediately, but silently recited, retrograde's attribute panel, in his heart. Following his silent recitation, suddenly, in front of him, an attribute panel that only he could see popped up. Name. Retrograde. Binding. Dimensional retrograde. Controllable person. Host and the summoned. Level. 1 435 500ths upgrade method. Devil fruit upgrade, voyage mileage, summoning staff running in degree improvement. Ability unlock. Level A. As the level increases, more and more abilities will be unlocked. Looking at the attribute panel of the retrograde, Dean Riding nodded thoughtfully, because the member's previous run in degree has improved, but the retrograde has improved her run in degree a little. But, the effect may be a little unsatisfactory, and the improvement is very slow. Master Dean Riding backquote. Seeing Dean Riding in a daze, the retrograde at the side couldn't help calling his name tentatively. Dean Riding paused, then with a smile on his face, you'll find out later. After saying this clearly, Dean Riding stretched out his hand to open the wooden box, then picked up one of them with one hand, and secretly said, upgrade. Ding, do you want to consume devil fruit to upgrade the retrograde? Close black lens bracket. Sure. Ding, consume devil fruit successfully, level 1 right pointing arrow level 2. With the sound of the system falling, the next second, something that surprised Dean Riding happened. A dazzling light burst out from Rebel's body instantly, and her body grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. Her hair was draped around her shoulders, dancing with the weak airflow released by herself. Breakthrough. Still grow taller. Interesting. After Dean Riding muttered, he grabbed the remaining 2 devil fruits in his hands and muttered again. Upgrade. Ding, do you want to consume 2 devil fruits to upgrade the retrograde? Close black lens bracket. Sure. Ding, consume devil fruit successfully, level up. Advertisement. The system's notification sound fell again, and the light on the retrograde became even more dazzling. I saw that the height ushered in growth again, and the clothes began to tear slowly. Seeing this, Dean Riding quickly took off his coat and threw it towards the retrograde. After taking the clothes, the retrograde quickly wrapped herself up. However, her own changes had not stopped, and 2 round things suddenly protruded from the front of her body. The hair is still growing, and it doesn't stop until the waist. The face has also undergone some changes, from the original lowly face to the royal mother face. Slowly, the light on the retrograde gradually dissipated, and everything returned to normal. And retrograde also changed from a Lolita to Yuji. At the same time, in front of Dean Riding, the attribute panel belonging to retrograde popped up again. Name. Retrograde. Binding. Dimensional retrograde. Controllable person. Host and the summoned. Level. 4 435 4000ths upgrade method. Devil fruit upgrade, voyage mileage, summoning personnel running in degree improvement. Ability to unlock. Level A. Dive, fly, unlock battle mode. As the level increases, more and more abilities will be unlocked. Dean Riding looked at the unlocked abilities, and didn't have much reaction to the first 3 abilities, but when he saw the 4th ability, unlock battle mode, he couldn't help thinking about it. Battle mode. Immediately afterwards, a picture appeared in his mind. The retrograde went straight ahead at full speed, knocking the enemy ship over. No no no. He shook his head, shaking off the current thought. Immediately following in my mind, a picture emerged again. The retrograde directly transforms into a Gundam, and Dean Riding controls the screen inside. It seems, it should be like this. After muttering, he closed the properties panel of the retrograde, and looked at the retrograde in front of him. Master Dean. Dean Riding. Being stared at so directly by Dean Riding, Retrograde suddenly had a blush on his face, and his shy little eyes did not dare to look directly at Dean Riding. The current rebel, in terms of appearance, naturally needless to say, Zhao Nuohao, it is definitely the best one. The figure is even hotter, with lordosis and back warping. The figure plus the appearance value, the score directly reached 88, and the remaining 12 points, because Dean Riding was detained by the traffic police in his previous life. Cough cough, just kidding, if you ask Dean Riding to give a rating now, Dean Riding will say, this is a proper best beauty play. It seems that there are more surprises than expected. Dean Riding said with a look of satisfaction on his face. He thought that after the retrograde was upgraded, it would gain very good abilities. She never expected that not only did she have a very good ability, but she also became a top-notch beauty. This upgrade, earn blood, 85 no need for Admiral. You on the line. Seek full order. Gathering his senses, Dean Riding found that the retrograde was still wrapping his plump body with his top. He reminded softly, there are clothes to change inside the tavern, go and change quickly. The retrograde nodded. Because of the changes in her body, her feet got a little bigger, so the shoes didn't fit her right now. She simply walked in with bare feet and cautiously. The tavern has been closed since Dean Riding came back, so there are no customers. The waiter is also under the instruction of Dean Riding, and is currently carrying fine wine out of the warehouse behind the tavern. Joey's. Dean Riding yelled now. The response was heard in the next second from the comrades in the tavern leading to the warehouse. Immediately afterwards, a man in a suit hurried up to Dean Riding. Joey's, the waiter in the tavern, his technology of making wine is derived from Dean Ruigong. Dean Riding is his boss, but also his master. Boss, is there anything else you want to order? Joey looked at Dean Riding and asked. It's nothing too big, just before leaving 690, I have something to tell you. Dean Riding had already returned to the bar, took out a bottle of fine wine from the cabinet, opened the lid and drank. Boss, are you really leaving? Joey said with some reluctance in his eyes. He himself was from the slums of Dor Vega. Thor felt that he was pitiful, he had no father and no mother, and he had to take care of a younger sister who was only 7 or 8 years old, so he finally asked him to work in the tavern. Later, Dean Riding found that he was very interested in his own bartending, and then roughly taught him. But he was very competitive, which made Dean Riding very satisfied. For Dean Riding and them, Joey's has always regarded them as a great benefactor. My destination is not in Dor Vega. Dean Riding said flatly. Then, boss, will you come back? Joey's continued to ask. Dean Riding gave him a blank look, and then said angrily, what are you talking about? At present, my home is in Dor Vega. After my trip is over, I will naturally return to here. Hearing what Dean Riding said, Joey's forced a smile on his face. So, boss, what do you want to tell me? Gulu gulu. It didn't take long for Dean Riding to drink the bottle of wine in his hand. After a long sigh, he continued, after I leave, I will leave the tavern to you. Hearing Dean Riding's words, Joey's was stunned, and quickly said, boss, this. I'm afraid I can't do it. Dean Riding sat on the stool and said casually, I didn't discuss with you, but came to inform you. Besides, if you ruin the tavern I run, I will clean you up when I come back. Yes, boss, I will definitely not let you down. Advertisement. Just as Joey's finished speaking, the retrograde, who had changed her clothes, had already come out. At this time, she was wearing a pink dress with a pair of snow-white long legs under the skirt. However, she was barefoot at this time, because there were no shoes inside. Joey stared at the retrograde in a daze, feeling a little familiar, but he couldn't think of where he had seen it before. However, before he could make a sound, Dean Riding reminded, okay, you can hurry up and do your work. Joey smiled, nodded and said, good boss. Dean Riding took a look at the retrograde, and then praised, not bad, so pretty. This pink dress suits you very well. BABD. Really, the retrograde was so praised by Dean Riding, and he was very happy. Although she has changed from a Lolita to a Sister You now, but, she only looks like a Sister You on the outside, but in fact, she is still a fool in her heart, just like Lolita before, stupid and cute. When did I lie to you? He, I believe it. Retrograde smiled brightly. Master Dean Riding, I feel stronger. I can't become stronger, I will definitely beat you up, you have digested 3 devil fruits of mine. Upon hearing Dean Riding say that, Retrograde curled her lips. Dean Riding frowned slightly, and he found that the curled lips of the retrograde had a special charm. Call. He sighed lightly, and said, okay, let's not pick it up secretly and go help clean up. Holy Land Mariajoy. Marine Marshal Boonier called a meeting. Not long ago, we got the news of the former Dimension Retrograde organization, and the senior officials of the world government knew about it, and immediately issued an order to kill it. The content of this meeting is who will carry out this order. Boonier sat at seat C of the long table, and he looked at Marine present with his sharp eyes. Not many Marines came this time, because they were temporary, and most of the Marines were performing tasks outside. The guys from Dimensional Retrograde are not good at it. More than a year ago, that guy named Dean Riding defeated that guy Garp in 1 minute. Indeed, according to the information provided by Sengoku and Garp, these guys are not easy. Moreover, according to the information obtained just now, Dara Vice Admiral can only take a blow from Dean Riding. I feel that to carry out this task, at least Marine's Admiral must return. As soon as this was said, the man who sat on one side and had been a Marine Vice Admiral for 5 years said, "Are you kidding? Don't you think it's a bit of a big deal? For a group of such organizations, Marine Admiral needs to be used. Don't you use a sledgehammer to kill chickens. If it spreads out, others will laugh at our Marine." All eyes were on him. You on the line. Okay, don't argue about these meaningless topics. First of all, the strength of the dimensional retrograde is definitely not bad, and now, there happens to be an admiral who did not perform the task, so please trouble him to go there. Bunye said slowly. Point 86 set sail, unbelievable, thousands of people send you off, seek full order. I also agree with Admiral's plan. Even if the final result is to kill chickens with a sledgehammer, I think it is better than letting people die. Another Marine Vice Admiral sitting on the seat raised his hand and agreed. Well, I think so too. If someone really thinks this is not necessary, Marshal Bunye, I strongly urge that person to carry out this task. This Marine Vice Admiral said, and glanced at the Marine Vice Admiral who said that sending Admiral out would be a joke. However, he has been a Marine Vice Admiral for 4 or 5 years anyway, and in his Marine status, he claims to be highly respected. How could this Marine Vice Admiral lose his temper when people say that? In an instant, he pointed at the Marine Vice Admiral in a rage and cursed. B****************************************************************************************************h, I said who knows what's in his heart, and if he doesn't go by himself, he drags others into the water to die. You're so ridiculous. Ha 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 ha. At this moment, Justin laughed loudly. Scum, you guys are really scum, you have no skills at all, you know the yin and yang. Ah, yes, you are amazing. You are still Marine Vice Admiral after 4 or 5 years. Justin stood up angrily. At the same time, Bunye frowned, and said in a deep voice, Justin, that's enough. This is a conference room, not a quarrel room. Justin felt that Chunin couldn't bear this anger, looked at Bunye and said, Marshal, give me the task of arresting the dimensional retrograde, and I will personally bring his head over to stop them. Mouth. Justin, don't be careless. Dimensional retrograde guys are not simple, and the information we have on him is really too little, so, no matter what, we must act cautiously. Marshal, Justin's tone sounded a little sad. Don't you also listen to the wind is the wind, the rain is the rain, and people say what they say. Bunye was a little dumbfounded. Your uncle, lousy is for your safety. You backhandedly put the label of following others' opinions on me. The dignified Marshal Marine, how could he be so angry? Justin, first am the Marine Marshal. Watch your tone, since you want to take the initiative to take on this dangerous task, you can do whatever you want. Bu Younger growled. Thank you Marshal, Justin will definitely send his head up, otherwise, I would like to resign from the position of Vice Admiral. After leaving a word, Justin walked out of the conference room without looking back. After a long time, Dor Vega. In the port, the retrograde has changed back to the form of a ship. Although her body has changed a lot, the boat is still the same. Dean Riding and his group stood behind the ship, and the area around the port was densely packed with people. Their purpose is only one, and that is to see off Dean Riding. This kind of treatment was beyond Dean Riding's expectation. Unexpectedly, one day, he would be sent out to sea by tens of thousands of people. Dean Riding, Dean Riding, Dean Riding, Dean Riding, Dean Riding, Dean Riding. Among the crowd, everyone was shouting Dean Riding's name, and the scene was even spectacular. Dean Riding, it seems that you are very welcome. Thor, lying on the railing of the boat, watched the crowd in front of him, and said with a little surprise in his heart. Dean Riding was a little ashamed, he explained with a light smile. No, it's not just me, it's our dimension retrograde. Indeed, Dean Riding can be so popular, all this is not due to him alone, but the actions of the entire dimension retrograde, which is equivalent to liberating the entire Dor Vega. Advertisement. After everyone heard what Dean Riding said, there was a smile on their faces. The staff of the news agency among the crowd were also slightly surprised by this situation. What the hell did Dean Riding do to be treated like this? No, I don't know, this kind of treatment is usually only given to heroes or great leaders. Tisk tisk tisk, this organization is really incredible. What's the reason? Dean Riding sailed, and thousands of civilians sent him off. This is definitely a big news. If we fan the flames and exaggerate, then the news will be even more interesting. Not to mention anything else, this trip to Dor Vega is a huge fortune. 0 for flowers. Dean Riding looked at them with some emotion in his heart. He waved his hand, and the high-pitched shouting stopped instantly. Set sail. Dean Riding yelled. The crowd raised their hands and began to shake. This time, for Dean Riding, the scene was even more exciting than the previous one. Dean Riding's trip was exceptionally smooth. Although Marines sent people to Dor Vega, Dean Riding didn't meet him. In a blink of an eye, the time has come to the next day. With the help of Newsbird, the news that the dimensional retrograde set sail and was sent by thousands of people is spreading throughout the Grand Line. 0. New World, an island. The Luogia pirate group that is still on the shore. At this time, one of the members of Luogia pirates ran happily holding a newspaper he just bought from Newsbird. While shouting, Captain Luogia, good news, great news. At this time, Luogia was sitting on the rock, discussing with Rayleigh and Jabba about their next itinerary. After hearing the shout, the eyes of the three of them couldn't help but look back. It's too late to say it, but it's too fast. After a while, that member has come to their side. What's the good news that makes you so excited? Could it be that Locks and his gang are deflated? Luo Jia asked. Rayleigh's heart is relatively thin. From the newspaper in his hand, he saw a photo of Dean riding waving. Seeing this scene, he was taken aback for a moment, and then said with a smile, "It seems that it is indeed good news for Luo Jia." Luo Jia looked at Rayleigh with a look of surprise, and said in confusion, "It's really that guy Locks who ate it." "Do not." Rayleigh vetoed it, and said seriously, "There is news about Dean riding." "Rayleigh, how did you know that?" The member paused slightly, and was also a little curious. He hadn't said anything yet. How did his vice captain know? "Idiot, isn't there a big picture on the newspaper you're holding?" Jabba reminded the knife aloud. ".87 You're crazy, you want to start a buster call, full order." The words fell. Both Luo Jia and the crew member looked at the newspaper. As Jabba said, there was a picture of Dean riding waving on the newspaper. The member smiled, and then handed the newspaper to Luo Jia. "I thought Rayleigh had the ability to predict, so I saw the photo of Dean riding." After Luo Jia took the newspaper, he quickly opened it. In the next second, Luo Jia burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha ha. That kid Dean riding can do it, he has such a high prestige in Dor Vega, and he will be greeted by thousands of people when he travels." Hearing what Luo Jia said, Rayleigh also nodded. "Hearing what you said, it seems that in Dor Vega, he has won the hearts of the people." 870. Luo Jia put down the newspaper and looked expectant. "I really hope that I can meet him soon. You're a bar that's greedy for others." Rayleigh on the side complained. "Ha ha ha ha. Rayleigh, how can you say that? It's mainly because we haven't seen each other for a year, and I want to tell him about the interesting things we experienced this year." "Luo Jia, we are very clear about your little thoughts." While speaking, Jabba reached out to pick up the newspaper that Luo Jia put down. After a careful glance, he said with a dull face, "The quality of the current newspapers is too bad. I just said that Dean riding is traveling, and there are no other interesting things." Luo Jia glanced at him from the corner of his eye, and said with a smile, "Is there anything more exciting than Dean riding sailing?" Jabba had a black line on his face, and then complained from the side. "Luo Jia, if you and Dean riding got along so well, he shouldn't have rejected you in the first place, so he gave up. You should brainwash us like you did when you invited me and Rayleigh." As soon as the words came out, Luo Jia didn't react yet, but Rayleigh on the side laughed. Jabba, Luo Jia, I'm not that kind of person. "Ah, yes, Luo Jia, you are right, ha 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 ha. That's natural, how could I use strong means to get you on board?" Yes, so, Luo Jia, you can put the knife down now." Ha 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 ha. On the island, there was endless laughter. What you say when you are joking is true and false and true. Justin, Marine Vice Admiral, has successfully rushed to Dor Vega from the Holy Land of Mariajoy. However, luck is not so good. Dean riding had already left Dor Vega yesterday. In the town of Dor Vega, Justin held the newspaper he had just read in his hand. His face was full of anger. 10,000 people give it away. These guys are all accomplices of the dimensional retrograde. Come here, bring me the phone bug. Advertisement. Give an order, and soon, a Marine soldier handed the phone bug to Justin. Immediately, he dialed the phone number of Marine Marshal Bunye. No surprise, the phone bug connected after a while. The phone bug in Justin's hand showed Bunye's face. Before Justin waited, Bunye asked on the other side of the phone bug. "Calling over so quickly, is it possible that you have dealt with the dimensional retrograde guys? That guy Dean riding is such a coward. After killing Dara Vice Admiral, he was afraid that Marine would come to the door in the morning, so he ran away in a hurry yesterday." Bunye was silent for a few seconds, and then continued to ask. "So, what do you want to tell me when you call this time? Dimensional retrograde escaped?" "Of course not." Justin vetoed it, and continued. "Yesterday, the gang of dimensional retrogrades escaped, and Dora Vega was sent off by tens of thousands of people. I suspect that the villagers of Dora Vega are all related to dimensional retrogrades. It may be an accomplice, or even, there is a greater possibility that Dora Vega is the base of the dimension retrograde, so. My idea is, Marshal, you should communicate with the world government, and do you a favor for Dora Vega activates Buster Call." As soon as the word Buster Call came out, Marshal Bunal was stunned. 0. Yes, he couldn't believe that Justin would say such a thing. The so-called Buster Call is normally established by the Marine headquarters authorized by the world government. An indiscriminate and destructive attack on the signaled area is used to completely wipe out things and people in an area that threatens the rule of the world government. Buster Call is a brutal attack that burns everything. Unless it is a last resort, the world government will generally not do this. Are you crazy, or am I? Justin, do you know what Buster Call means? I know. On the other side, Justin responded with certainty. You know what a fart. I think you are blinded by anger. You want to use Buster Call just based on guesswork. Anyone will call you crazy. What's more, Dean Riding and the others have already left Dora Vega, but you still have to take a bunch of innocent lives on your back. Is this really justice in your heart? Justin 3.2 was silent, and after a moment of contemplation, he replied, Marshal, I would rather kill by mistake than let one go. It is good. Marine Marshal Bunye roared. Justin, I, as Marines Marshal, resign from your position as Marine Vice Admiral. As soon as these words came out, Justin's anger rose to the extreme in an instant, and he directly crushed the phone bug in his hand. Withdraw, he roared. After receiving the order, the surrounding marine soldiers quickly followed his footsteps. Justin Vice Admiral, where are we going? Continue chasing the dimensional retrograde, and will not stop until his head is brought back. Yes, Justin Vice Admiral. 88 Golden Lion. Edward, why don't we turn against the water, please order in full. The news of Dean Riding sailing is spreading across the Grand Line at an extremely fast speed. At this time, the Locks pirates stationed on an island in New World. After the newspapers were read by them, some people were happy, some were sad, and some were both happy and sad. Of course, most of them were not interested in the matter of Dean Riding at all. The Golden Lion sits above and below the branches of the big tree, and the Whitebeard sits on the roots of the trees raised above the ground. At this moment, he was holding the newspaper with both hands, and beside him were his fine wine and Kong Yunchi. Golden Lion glanced at the contents of the newspaper from the corner of his eye, and then muttered, "Our friend, Dean Rui, has appeared again." Whitebeard looked up at the Golden Lion, but he didn't really care about it. His lips parted and closed, and a word was passed into the Golden Lion's ear. "Our friend, Haki, what are you kidding? Did you forget about being killed for more than a year? How about 10? Do you still consider Dean Riding a friend?" Listening to Whitebeard reveal the scandal of his past, Golden Lion frowned slightly, but after a few seconds, he seemed to figure something out. There was a look of indifference on his face. "Edward, I don't like to hear what you say. Although I do have some conflicts with Dean Riding's partner, but it's just a partner with him. I still regard Dean Riding as a partner. Friends." Whitebeard didn't say anything, just laughed from below. "What are you laughing at? I mean it. I didn't say you weren't serious." Whitebeard put away the newspaper in his hand, with a smile still on his face. He has seen shameless people. But, I've never seen such a shameless Golden Lion. Golden Lion looked at Whitebeard with this expression. Feeling a little uncomfortable inside. I knew it would be like this. At the beginning, when Locks asked himself to do such a thing, he shirked it to others. Up to now, mutton can't be eaten, which makes people all over the place. Although the heart is full of atmosphere, but what is shown on the face is a calm look. Hey, Edward, although you can see the content of today's newspaper is both happy and sad, but look at Locks. This matter, the Golden Lion on the tree reminded. Whitebeard paused slightly, reached for the wine, and at the moment he looked up, his eyes looked in the direction Locks was trying to force. Anger, dissatisfaction, that's the look on Locks' face right now. Gia ha 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 ha. Golden Lion jumped up from the tree and sat beside Whitebeard, with his back against the tree, he spoke. It seems that Locks is very dissatisfied with the news of Dean Riding sailing. It has been more than a year, and he is still brooding about our failed mission. I even think it is possible. He guessed that we cheated. Although Whitebeard didn't speak, he agreed with what Golden Lion said in his heart. Hello, Edward. Having said that, Golden Lion cautiously glanced at Locks not far away from the corner of his eye, then lowered his voice. If one day, the bandits and Shaw fight against each other, which side will you be on? Advertisement. Haki, do you want to die? Talk about this kind of topic in this kind of place. For Whitebeard's words, Golden Lion didn't take it seriously. What are you afraid of? There are noises all around, and we're not shouting loudly, they can't hear you. Ask knowingly, Whitebeard said, casting a blank look at Golden Lion. Then I'll be on your side too. Golden Lion said with a smile, seemingly joking, but in fact he was serious. Their relationship has improved a lot since Whitebeard saved the Golden Lion's life. Of course, the main reason for this is that Whitebeard is no threat to the interests of the Golden Lion. Golden Lion wants to dominate the world, but Whitebeard doesn't. All Whitebeard wants is to have his own family. This, in terms of interests, is never in conflict. Gu la la la. Hearing the Golden Lion's reply. 77. As for whether it is true or not, he does not know. He also felt that it didn't matter. However, the only thing he can guarantee is that Golden Lion will never tell Locks what he thinks. If he wanted to say something, I am afraid, he would have said it long ago. Golden Lion glanced at Whitebeard, and then said to himself, you said, that day has really come, and the two of us suddenly turned against each other, will the others follow suit? Yes, members of the Locks pirate group are increasingly dissatisfied with Locks. If in the middle of the battle, Whitebeard and Golden Lion suddenly turned against each other, then it is very likely that others will also join. In this way, the Locks pirates are likely to disintegrate on the spot. In that case, things might get more interesting. Golden Lion thought about it, and whispered, Edward, why don't we turn our backs now? We can't beat Locks, but with my lion fruit ability, it's still easy to escape, what do you think? Whitebeard was surprised, this Golden Lion really dared to say such a tiger wolf word. 640. However, I could feel that Golden Lion's words were meant as a joke. I don't care, but, are you willing? What can I be reluctant to do? Locks is really looking for the power to destroy the world now. I don't believe that an ambitious guy will give up this opportunity. Indeed, recently, Locks is looking for the whereabouts of the 3 ancient weapons that can destroy the world. Whitebeard doesn't believe that someone like Golden Lion who also wants to dominate the world will give up this opportunity. The so-called 3 ancient weapons are the 3 ancient weapons with the title of God that have existed since ancient times and can destroy the world. They are Pluton, Pluto, Poseidon, Poseidon, and Uranus, Uranus. However, now, Locks does not have much information, just a little bit. Everyone in the Locks Pirates knew about this matter, and they were also interested in this shocking news. Golden Lion looked at Whitebeard with a bored face, and sighed softly. You guys are really boring, you can't just follow the tricks when you know it. 89 Marine chasing the dimensional retrograde, full order. Just count on it. As soon as Whitebeard said it, he burst out laughing the next second. Gu la la la. You idiot, who dares to play such a life-threatening game with you? Golden Lion didn't understand, and quickly complained, how could you lose your life? Aren't you afraid that I will follow my tricks and develop into making fakes come true? Whitebeard's piercing eyes turned to the Golden Lion. Golden Lion paused, looking at Whitebeard's eyes, which seemed to be somewhat serious. He quickly smiled, pretending not to care and said, forget it, you guy who doesn't play cards according to the routine, I'm really worried that you will come for real. Although he looks like he doesn't care, what he said is true. Whitebeard's character, Golden Lion, is now understood. Thinking back now, the joke I made with him just now, I really feel a little terrified. A few days later, Dean riding over there. The retrograde is drifting in the waters of the New World. The reason why it is called drifting. That's because Dean riding is different from Luogia and the others. Luogia and the others have goals. And Dean riding had no idea where he was going. I don't know where I'm going. FFLX. He is quite confused at this moment. On the retrograde, everyone was doing nothing. After all, being on a boat is nothing compared to being on land. The land area is large, and there are many entertainments. Naturally, there are many places to go, and there are naturally many entertainment items. However, on a ship, the area is only so big, there are few things you can do, and there are few places you can go. The furthest distance is from the bow to the stern. As for entertainment, that's not much. Most of them also play fighting landlords and chess. If it's a bit boring, I just read books and newspapers to find out the time. Or go into the kitchen and study cooking with Thor. Of course, there are also self-entertainment. As for Dean riding, he had just finished his devil-style training. These days when I sailed, I changed suddenly and became a salted fish. Early in the morning every day, he would move a rocking chair outside the boat, and then lay the dead body. Blowing the sea breeze, enjoying the first sight of the sea. From the first day of myself, until now, the corpse group changed from 1 to 3. As for the other two, they are naturally Ulquiorra Cipher, who is not very interested in anything, and Akunologia. However, when he first set sail, Dean riding paid more attention to Akunologia. Because, in the original, fairy tale, Akunologia is seasick. However, maybe because they came to this world, the system reshaped their bodies, making the previous weakness gone forever. This is a good thing. Today, it's still the same as usual. The retrograde is still sailing at a very slow speed. The lying corpse trio were already lying on the rocking chair. Blowing the sea breeze, welcoming the first ray of sunshine in the sea. High on the top of the boat, Senju Hashirama is sitting on the railing of the boat, and standing beside him is Ace Kano. Advertisement. It's too quiet. We shouldn't drive into an area thousands of miles away where there are no people. Senju Hashirama dangled his feet, feeling a little complicated. 2. This is completely different from what he thought. He wants to go to sea and experience the strongest power in this world. Now, he is very concerned about the people of the Locks Pirates and the Luogia Pirates, and he especially hopes to fight with them. Really? Ace Kano nodded. However, it should not be what you said. After thinking about it carefully, Ace Kano spoke again. However, it's not impossible, we don't know much about this world. Senju Hashirama stared ahead without answering. Or, agree with what Ace Kano said. Everyone, breakfast is ready. At this time, Thor, wearing an apron, stepped out of the boat and yelled. Regardless of whether they should answer or not, the next second, she put her body into the boat again. Time to enjoy Thor's food. Senju Hashirama stood up, and then the whole body fell down and landed on the deck of the ship. Ace Kano followed Senju Hashirama's footsteps and jumped down. Dean riding also got up from the rocking chair. Get out of the boat. And just as they all entered the interior of the ship. Suddenly, with the retrograde as the center, 3 marine warships appeared faintly on the horizon behind. Blue, 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 blue. The phone bug inside the ship has been ringing for a long time. Justin Vice Admiral. In front of the ship, one of the marine soldiers frowned slightly as he looked at Justin, who was holding a binoculars and had a meaningful smile on his face. Backquote Justin Vice Admiral. He called again. Don't pay attention to him, if you want to make meritorious service with me, now, just follow my orders. But, that's Marshal Marine's call. Marine soldier said a little uneasy. After all, you are just a Marine Vice Admiral, what can you say? Even for meritorious service. Later, Marshal Marine can also directly say that you disobeyed military orders. This is totally a thankless thing to do. Don't have any worries. The credit for this World War I belongs to you all. After this mission is over, I will resign from the position of Marine Vice Admiral. Justin said flatly. The Marine soldier didn't make a sound, just stood there in a daze. Blue, blue, blue brew. The phone bug inside the ship rang again. Justin frowned slightly. Wang Zhaozhao was a little impatient. He handed the binoculars in his hand to the Marine soldier beside him. Then, he walked in alone. Finally connected to the phone bug inside. Before Justin could speak, on the other side of the phone bug, Bunye's roar came. Justin, You be asterisk 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 D, didn't I tell you to return? What do you want to do? Justin didn't pay much attention to the anger from Marshal Marine. After all, technically speaking, he is no longer Marine Vice Admiral. The reason why he is still obsessed with hunting down Dean Riding. That is, he wanted to prove to the Marine and the world government at the last moment that what he did was not wrong. I've found the organization of the retrograde dimension, and now I'm really ready to attack them. Justin said calmly. A asterisk hole, now you're not Marine Vice Admiral. Over there, Bunye continued to roar. .90 combat mode of the retrograde full order. However, Justin didn't take it too seriously. Because, he has made up his mind, not to mention, now that he is on the verge of death, he cannot turn back. Marshal, as you said, I am no longer the Marine Vice Admiral, so I can stop your orders. FKU, you're going to find Dean Riding. I won't stop you, but don't take my Marine. Bunye roared again. Bunye was so angry now, he really wanted to grab Justin directly and beat him up. Only this matter, let me refuse. Madman, you are even more insane than a dimensional retrograde. At this time, Bunye discovered that Justin was honest before, but once he went crazy, it would be terrifying. Of course, the scary here does not mean that his strength is so strong, but that his thinking is very extreme. Okay, Marshal, next, I'm going to prove that everything I said is correct. Justin didn't listen to Bunye's words at all. When he finished what he wanted to say, he hung up the phone directly. He walked out again. Even if the phone rang again, he remained indifferent to 590. At this time, Marine's warship was gradually approaching the retrograde. After a while, as the distance enough, Justin stood in front of the boat. Jane asked. Justin Vice Admiral, this distance has reached the distance of our cannonballs, and we can launch an attack on the dimension retrograde at any time. The Marine soldier on the side reported truthfully. It is good. Justin nodded in satisfaction. All the guns are aimed at the ship of the dimension retrograde. Ka day. Soon, under the control of Marine, all the guns of the warship were aimed at the retrograde. Justin Vice Admiral, all the guns have been aimed at them, please instruct. Marine straightened up and reported seriously. Fire. Justin yelled excitedly. Yes. With an order, all the muzzles fired shells one after another. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. Shish. Baff, the dense shells shot into the air in an instant, and after passing through a gorgeous strand, they fell straight down. However, just when Justin and the others thought that the shells would fall on the good ship of the retrograde. In the next second, they discovered something that made them unbelievable. All the shells were detonated directly above the retrograde. Billowing black smoke spread outward. Reporting to Justin Vice Admiral, our shells seem to be blocked by something, and the shells cannot fall on the ship of the dimension retrograde. There was no need for him to report. Justin naturally noticed it. His brows were wrinkled, and his face was a little ugly. What the hell is this? An invisible defensive wall? He muttered, but still didn't give up, and continued to speak. Keep firing for me, I really want to see how long this thing can last. Advertisement. Yes. As soon as the order came out, violent shells were launched again. However, the result was the same as before, just in vain. At the same time, Dean Riding and his group held a bowl of noodles in their hands, and while eating with relish, they turned their attention to Marine. Oh, are Marines attacking us? Thor spoke out first. However, it seems that they are not very smart. They know that the shells are ineffective against us, but they still launch such a violent attack. Senju Hashirama took a sip, and then said. It seems that they are coming in a menacing way. Tu Shan Yaya followed and continued. Tisk tisk tisk. Just a bunch of ants who don't know how to live or die. Ace Kano said disdainfully while eating his noodles. Dean Riding didn't answer the conversation. While eating the noodles, his eyes were on the approaching Marine not far away. After taking a look at them, they were a group of unfamiliar faces, but he was not in a hurry. Because, in Dean Riding's eyes, the lives of these Marines are not as important as his own noodles. Report to Justin Vice Admiral, and found members of the Dimension Retrograde Organization, namely, Dean Riding, Tushin Yaya, Ace Kano, Senju Hashirama, Thor. There are 2 other guys who have no bounties. Marine the soldier reported from the side. Justin's expression became even uglier now. Such a violent shelling on my side. You guys are still eating noodles with relish. Who do you look down on? I am also a Marine Vice Admiral anyway. A Marine veteran who has seen many battles. Cough. Although the title of Marine Vice Admiral has been cut off now, in the end, he can still be regarded as a former Marine Vice Admiral. Damn it. Don't look down on people. While continuing to bombard, lean the boat over. Justin yelled. Yes, Justin Vice Admiral. Meanwhile, on Dean Riding's side, there was still no big reaction. Everyone was eating noodles on their own, seeing Marine's warship getting closer and closer, they were a little excited instead. At this moment, only Dean Riding and the others could hear the ethereal voice. Master Dean Riding, let me do it. Although the voice has changed a lot, it's not the first time Dean Riding and the others heard it, so they know who it is. Yes, that's the sound of the retrograde. After Dean Riding thought for a moment, since upgrading the retrograde with Devil Fruit, several abilities have been unlocked. So far, he hasn't tried it. Now, finally came the goal to try. Dean Riding didn't intend to waste such a good opportunity. Let me see. While speaking, Dean Riding displayed the properties panel of the retrograde. Name. Retrograde. Binding. Dimensional retrograde. Controllable person. Host in the summoned. Level. 4, 465 4000ths upgrade method. Devil fruit upgrade, voyage mileage, summoning staff running in degree improvement. Ability to unlock. Level A, dive, fly, unlock battle mode. As the level increases, more and more abilities will be unlocked. After a glance, he has already tried level A, diving and flying, which are not suitable for fighting, only fighting mode. Point 91 Vice Admiral, is this really a trick? Seek full order. Dean Riding was in no hurry to counter Marine. Suo suo suo. After Dean Riding finished eating the noodles, he drank all the soup inside. It has to be said that Thor's culinary skills are improving very quickly, and soon, Dean Riding will feel that he will be conquered by Thor's cooking skills. Eating and drinking enough, Dean Riding sighed with emotion, put the bowls and chopsticks aside, and then let out a satisfied smile. Next, it's time to fight back against the Marines. Retrograde, enter combat mode. As soon as Dean Riding's order came out, the statue in the center of the boat suddenly opened its eyes. One black and one white light flickered. At this moment, the statue seemed to be injected with Soul General. After pulling out the inserted giant sword, with the wings spread, the statue floats in the air. Looking around, it is majestic and majestic, like a rainbow, like a god descending from the earth. Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark quote. Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark quote. After Dean Riding and the others saw the statue flying up, they were still a little surprised in their hearts. Should I go? Can this statue still fly? Senju Hashirama's movement of eating noodles froze immediately, his eyes widened, feeling a little novel and a little surprised. He originally thought that when Dean Riding said that he entered the combat state, the retrograde would re-transform into a human form to fight. I was still thinking about it, what would they do if the retrograde turned into a human form? Go to see and wait. If this is the case, it might as well let other members solve it. This is the real thought of Senju Hashirama in front. However, after seeing the statue flying up, he felt indifferent. No further trouble, Dean Riding will do all the fussing. Why do I always feel a little impotent? Sister Retrograde, is the soul entering the statue? Thor watched the flying statue with mixed feelings. As for Tushan Yaya, Ace Kano, and Ulquiorra Cypher and others, although they also saw the statue flying into the sky, they didn't react much. Watching as if nothing had happened. As for Dean Riding, he was also a little surprised. He originally thought that the so-called combat mode. It is the hull that has undergone major changes, probably turning into a huge Gundam. But now it seems that he is thinking too much. Now, let's talk about shock. Definitely Marine Justin sighed. Are they dumbfounded? What the hell is going on? Me too, I don't know either. The statue is flying. Am I in broad daylight? Wouldn't this be Devil Fruit's ability? It shouldn't be. Looks amazing. Damn it, what the hell is the Meta Retrograde organization this time? First the invisible shield, and then the statue flies up. Many Marine soldiers muttered this, and all cast their incredible eyes on Justin. Looking at the eyes of the Marines, Justin frowned again. What are you looking at me for? My mother doesn't even know. Advertisement. Although Laozi has joined the Marine for decades and has experienced large and small battles, it is the first time he has seen such a weird thing like today, such an invisible protective cover, the hull of the ship can fly off and fall off. Although his heart was full of doubts, Justin didn't show it on his face. Instead, he said with a calm expression, HMPH, how dare you take advantage of something that can't be put on the table? Keep bombarding me. Hearing what their own officer said, the hearts of many Marine soldiers fell down. Keep bombarding. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. Shish. Heavy artillery fire was fired at Dean Riding again. So, Enraiden and the others are still in love with each other. This time, Dean Riding and the others didn't even set their eyes on them, but landed on the half-angel, half-demon statue that flew up. Facing the oncoming shells, the statue holding the giant sword revealed a look of disdain. Immediately afterwards, a group of black flames wrapped around the giant sword from the body. With a wave, Radao's black sword energy flew instantly. Directly detonate all the oncoming shells. Zero looking for flowers. Seeing this, Justin's face suddenly changed. Haven't waited for their reaction yet. At this time, the statue held a giant sword and rushed towards Justin directly. Come on, Paper Tiger. Justin was not timid in terms of momentum, he directly pulled out the long knife at his waist, and armament Haki instantly covered it, ready to receive the blow from the statue. Boom. The long knife and the giant sword collided together, and the huge impact directly caused the Marine warship to violently bump. Crunch, crunch. The ground where Justin's clubhouse stood began to show signs of cracking. He frowned, beads of sweat appearing on his cheeks. Originally thought it would be a paper tiger, but this blow directly made him a little suspicious of life. The light released from the statue's eyes became more and more intense. He quickly drew the giant sword, and then slashed it down again. When the huge roar sounded again, and Justin directly vomited blood. The deck collapsed instantly, and Justin was sinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. ZZZ. What made Justin even more unexpected was that the long knife covered by his armament Haki had cracks at this moment. Damn, he cursed. Indeed, this situation is completely worse, making Justin, who was already in crisis, even more in crisis. When the long knife shattered, the giant sword fell, and the two men led the boat and split it into two. After seeing this scene, the surrounding marine soldiers all stood dumbfounded, their pupils constricted violently. Justin Vice Admiral lost in a few rounds. At the moment when many marines were still thinking of raising their spears to shoot at the statue's eyes flashed brightly, and then he stabbed backhand again, killing him instantly. In just a moment, all the marine warships were divided into several pieces, and marines' blood stained the sea. Seeing this scene, Dean Riding also sighed softly. Oh, sure enough, it's just a bunch of trash. .92 then come and attack me. I'm waiting for you, full order please. Who are they? Dean Riding doesn't care what position they hold in marine. For him, these are just clowns and cannon fodder. To be honest, they don't even have the qualifications to let Dean Riding and the others make a move. Ding. A drop of a summoning point was detected ahead. Close black lens bracket. Ding. A drop of a summoning point was detected ahead. Close black lens bracket. The moment Dean Riding turned around, in his ear, the mechanical sound of the system sounded again. He paused slightly, and then felt a little happy inside. He turned his head, and here, next to the wreck, the drifter with a digital aperture. Yes, this is exactly the calling point. As for who dropped it, it may be marine, or it may be dropped from the wreck. I just said 350, a little louder when I came here. I'm really sorry. If it's a summon point, please come a few more times. Dean Riding worked hard this time, from his expressionless face to a bright smile. This move stunned Tushan Yaya and others around him. Knowing what they knew about Dean Riding, the guy was grinning, and nothing good would happen to the marine guys. Hey, Ace Kano had a hint of doubt. Did you see anything in front of you? Everyone glanced ahead, and there was nothing eye-catching except for the shipwreck, corpses, and other items that fell from the ship. Wreck, corpse, Thor said, crates, vegetables. Senju Hashirama followed suit. Regarding their words, Tushan Yaya smiled and said, the thing that Ace Kano said is not this kind of thing, right? Last time, we only saw him picking up air on the ground. No, strictly speaking, it's picking up things that we can't see. Quote. Right, Ace Kano nodded. It's just like Tushan Yaya said, the first time before, I thought he was sick, but after a closer look, it wasn't. FKU, you're sick. Dean Riding on the side yelled directly. Good guy, I haven't been there yet. Dean Riding, you can't blame us, you haven't told us, and the thing we can't see, it really looks like you are picking up air, and you are happy, it is easy to associate it's a sickness. Thor said seriously. Dean Riding gave her a blank look, didn't answer, and didn't know how to answer. After all, there is nothing wrong with Thor, the little girl. If other people say so, I can't see it, and I will say the same. No answer, Dean Riding jumped onto the wreck. Don't care about Thor's eyes. He happily picked up the calling point floating on the sea. Advertisement. Ding successfully picked up the summon point, and got 564 points. Close black lens bracket. Ding. Successfully picked up the summon point, and got 606 points. Close black lens bracket. Ding. Pick up the summon point successfully, get 320. WWW. This time there were not as many summoning points as before, but it was okay, not too few. After picking up Dean Riding, he opened his property panel. Host. Dean Riding. Physique. Devil Physique. Own ability. Taijutsu Assessment. Super Strong Conqueror's Haki, 165 5,000ths note. Advanced Armament Haki, 3,666 5,000ths note. Advanced Observation Haki, 4,500 5,000ths note. Advanced. Summoning points. 16,002 16,000ths. Get the method, complete the task, or drop from things immediately, or use Devil Fruit to exchange. Summoned characters. Ace Kano 40% run in Tushan Yaya, 36% run in Thor, 28% run in Senju Hashirama, 34% run in Ulquiorra Cipher, 25% Akunologia, 23%. Inheritance. Sun. Advanced Edition, Wood Style. Whenever the running in progress of the summoned character increases, the host will have a chance to inherit part of the character's abilities. Warehouse. None. Task. Summoning task, 6/8 not completed. Taking a quick look, Dean Riding is quite satisfied. Although there are not many summoning points for this trip, but after accumulating for more than a year, he can finally summon a new partner. 0. However, just when Dean Riding closed the property panel and wanted to go home. Suddenly, from a relatively large shipwreck, the sound of a phone bug rang out. Blue, 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 blue. Dean Riding heard the reputation and stared at the wreck that made the sound. After a moment of contemplation, he jumped over. After leaning his body in, he quickly connected to the phone bug. The phone bug on Dean Riding's side quickly turned into the face of Marine Marshal Bunye. Justin, you be *******D, you are responsible for what you do, you insist on doing it, it is no longer enough to resign from Marine Vice Admiral. Here, Bunye roared angrily, and after he reacted, he realized that the face and expression simulated by the phone bug in his hand were not Justin's but Dean Ruigong. Dean Riding, what are you? I'm really sorry, although I don't know you, I still have to tell you something. The Justin you mentioned, if nothing else happens, is the idiot who was cut in half. Dean Riding no waves. What a big tone, Dean Riding. Our Marine didn't take you 1.7 seriously, but you are so arrogant. Bunye looked extremely ugly. Dean Riding smiled. That's really embarrassing, I've always been like this. I'm the Marine Marshal. You know, if I deal with you exclusively, you won't be able to escape. Bunye's anger level soared immediately. Then come and attack me, I'll be waiting for you. Kr. Bunye thought for a moment, seemed to think of something, and then smiled. Speaking of which, you will be sent off by thousands of people when you set sail. It's a great face. They are all your accomplices, right? You know Marines. Buster Call, what is it? When Dean Riding heard it, murderous intent was already in his eyes. You are wrong. Do you really regard me as some kind of great saint? .93 Attack on the Holy Land Mariajoy. Seek full order. This will. Dean Riding really wanted to laugh. Threaten. Is that useful? I really thought I was some kind of mud bodhisattva, who would take care of everyone even if he didn't care about himself. Marine Marshal Bunye, after listening to Dean Riding's words, did not take it seriously, and a playful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Oh, is that true? Dean Riding. But, I heard that Dor Vega is your base camp. Does it really matter if you destroy it? Bunye is still adding oil and vinegar. However, Dean Riding's heart was not disturbed. Strictly speaking, Dor Vega is indeed his base camp. After all, almost all the industries there are Dean Ruagong. B. Life and death are fate, wealth and honor are in the sky. Dead, Dean Riding to help you out, it's still okay. But, if you say you want to threaten Dean Riding with this, then lead him by the nose. That is simply impossible. Sir, don't think of me as great as Dean Riding. I'm just an ordinary civilian. If you like Dor Vega, then I'll send you off. Hearing this, Bunye's face was a little ugly. However, I didn't take 10 too seriously. After all, the front is just to test Dean Riding's reaction. He didn't know Dean Riding well, but he could tell that what Dean Riding said was true. Even if he really found an excuse to launch a buster call on Dor Vega, Dean Riding wouldn't take it too seriously. Sure enough, those who come out to mess around are all ambitious, who cares about the life and death of ordinary people. Dean Riding. Bunye's tone became indifferent. You just wait, when I deal with the Lox pirates and the Luogia pirates, I will definitely draw my hand to deal with you. I'm waiting for you. Dean Riding laughed honestly. Just kidding, who is afraid of whom? Now, Dean Riding's overall strength is not weak. Ace Kano, Dazuzi, Xiaowu, Black Dragon, Yaya, and Thor, which one is not too strong? Don't say you are Marine, now, I'm adding a Lox pirates to you, don't be afraid. Even if the real world government's big boss IM comes out, if he can't beat him, he is still very confident about escaping Dean Riding. Inside the Holy Land Mariajoy. Bunye sneered and hung up the phone. Anger is great. Kong, who returned from his mission, had a sad expression on his face. Justin was killed. As soon as Justin was mentioned, Bunye grinned angrily. B************ D Justin, that guy didn't listen to my dissuasion. He deserves to die. It's not a pity for such a self-righteous guy to die 10,000 times. It is not common for Kong to be so angry with Bunye. Obviously, Justin is a B*****************, D, and he is very angry. Of course, part of the anger comes from Dean Riding. It can only be said that it is relatively normal. What? Bunye looked at Kong in surprise. Advertisement. Kong chuckled. Dimensional retrogrades are too low-key. Low-key people have an illusion that they are vulnerable. Bunye didn't answer because Kong said the truth. He stroked his slightly aching head, and sat back on the seat. That guy Dean Riding is so arrogant. Who does he think he is? I'm the Marine Marshal. He has the capital of arrogance. Kong smiled faintly. That guy defeated our Marine genius Garp more than a year ago, and after more than a year, he should have become stronger. Bunye was a little speechless. What the hell are you? Of course I know what you said, but I have a dull headache because of their affairs. Kong, you be ********** D, can't you say something that people listen to and make people feel comfortable? Kong, I have a very good relationship with you. Otherwise, let you be Marshal Marine. The world government has been putting pressure on me. I feel like my whole body is about to collapse. When Kong heard this, his heart trembled. Good guy, now that the Marine is in this position, whoever does it will get his A burned. Forget it, what can I do? Kong laughed softly. If you're really stressed, go out for a walk, don't stay in the Holy Land Mariajoy all the time, you live so close to the people from the world government, how could they not nag you? Bunner was startled. Some suddenly realized. Damn, it's true, I've been dealing with these incidents in a short period of time, and I'm not flexible enough. It seems that I have to take a long vacation for myself. Bunye stood up after speaking. Just do it, Kong, don't you still have a travel mission? I'll just be your boat and leave. On Dean Riding's side, after picking up the call points, he returned to the retrograde. The statue in the middle of the ship has also returned to its original position. Next step. Is our new member coming? Dean Riding had just returned, and before he could make a sound, Thor asked. For such words, Dean Riding felt that there was nothing to hide. After all, the people on this ship were all the people he trusted and knew the most. According to normal circumstances, it is indeed the case. There is something in the words, and other people are not stupid, and they won't fail to hear. Could it be? What happened? No way, my new 170 members died in the womb. It's so pitiful, I didn't even see the appearance, just went. It's all a definite number, and it's useless to be sad. Dean Riding was startled. What kind of tiger and wolf words are these? He frowned slightly. What nonsense. Dean Riding said angrily. Accidents are accidents, but it's not something that died in the womb, thanks to what you can think of. After these words came out, everyone sighed. Then what was the accident? Senju Hashirama asked. The expression on his face was a little weird, as if looking forward to it. Dean Riding thought about it again. This accident really made them look forward to it. The accident is that we are going to do a big event, and the new members have to wait until the big event is done before they can meet us. Dean Riding said calmly. The reason why he didn't call immediately was because he was afraid that this character was not strong enough, and second, he was afraid of distracting others. Event. What's the big deal? As Dean Riding expected, when his words fell, everyone looked expectant. Assault on the lair that controls the marine, the Holy Land Mariajoy. 94 Meeting the Luogia pirates again, full order. Sacred Mariajoy. After listening to Dean Riding's words, everyone's eyes changed slightly, and their eyes fixed on him. They don't know much about the Holy Land Mariajoy, but they don't know much. They had heard Dean Riding tell them before that the Holy Land of Mariajoy is the headquarters of the world government that governs Marine. In the headquarters, there are 5 elders, they are the highest leaders of the world government, and they are the pillars of the world government. Originally, they also thought that these 5 old men were the most powerful ones in the Holy Land Maria. But later, Dean Riding also told them that the world government still has a hidden behind-the-scenes big boss I am. However, they were still quite curious. How did Dean Riding know such absolutely confidential information? Could it be, he has been to the Holy Land Mariajoy? Have you fought against the so-called behind-the-scenes big boss I am? But, curious is curious. They didn't ask. After all, it is just curiosity, but in fact, they are not very interested. Dean Riding nodded. Marine wants to play something exciting, then we'll play with them. Seeing the smirk on Dean Riding's face after speaking, they knew that this matter was not easy. However, they were not afraid, on the contrary, they were excited. That's right, when they came to this world, they haven't shown their skills well yet. Nowadays, there are definitely strong people like clouds attacking the headquarters of the world government. When the time comes, they will definitely have a good time, so how can they not be excited? Ace Kano straightened his body, and said to Dean Riding with an arrogant face, we have been dormant for so long, it seems that we are finally going to do something big. But, Dean Riding, for this plan, I always have to come up with a little plan. Everyone is surprised. All eyes turned to Ace Kano. Dude, you still have plans. You were not like this before. You in general, didn't it just happen to be decided by Dean Riding? Such an abnormal behavior made Dean Riding quite curious. He glanced at Ace Kano in confusion, and asked, what plan? Ace Kano smiled, and then replied, we have to find a good time, we can't attack at night, right? I think the time in the morning is good. As soon as these words came out, the farmer suddenly realized. This guy, everyone thought he would come up with some kind of plan. As a result, the plan was for him. Ace Kano is a different person during the day and at night. These things are well known to the people on board. Dean Riding was speechless for a while, sighed. Don't worry, I'll take care of you, this time the big plan, you are very important. Indeed, at noon, Ace Kano was invincible. He can make a great contribution in this battle. What about the rest? Dean Riding asked again. We are not like Ace Kano, whose strength is affected by time, so, as before, you decide. Dean Riding nodded. At this point, the news that shocked the world is about to be born. Now, though, with Dean Riding, they have an even bigger problem. #BT. Now, they can't tell the difference between east, west and north. Advertisement. There is no map, and even if there is a map, it is useless. Because New World's geomagnetism, celestial phenomena, ocean currents, and air currents are all in chaos. It's hard to even pinpoint where you are, let alone find the island. Past nautical skills and experience are unreliable, only the recording pointer and the permanent pointer are trustworthy. Dean Riding smiled bitterly. I didn't expect that we would be troubled by this aspect. The next step, as Dean Riding thinks, is to take advantage of retrograde's ability to fly. Just find an island first, then go down and buy a record pointer. According to the recorded pointer, finally return. Half a day. The retrograde is flying very fast. In the meantime, he also encountered islands. Among them are uninhabited islands. Also, is not a bustling island, there is no record pointer or eternal pointer to buy. Although there are no big gains, there are still small gains. According to the guidance inside the island, the retrograde is flying to the side at this moment. As predicted, it takes about half an hour. A looming island came into Dean Riding's eyes. After getting close, you can see the bustling island in the sky, and Dean Riding can see it all. Dean Riding didn't intend to dock the ship in port, because some people would see and see. Of course, there are quite a few people like Dean Riding, but they are basically pirates, or others who have enemies with the world government. The ports are generally island residents, or marine stops. The retrograde slowly lowered its altitude. Slow down by the coast. Prepare to find a suitable docking location. Damn it. Dean Riding, who mind-controlled the retrograde, cursed. I have been thinking about the plan to attack the Holy Land Mariajoy in my mind, but I forgot that the retrograde can transform into a human form. He sighed softly. Brain pumped. However, At this moment, a good location on the coast. A pirate group is docked. The style of this boat, Dean Riding felt a little familiar. When his eyes moved up slightly, the next second, his pupils shrank violently. Two curly beards. Isn't this the logo of the Luogia pirates, Wang Haojiao? Good guy, is that guy Luogia also on this island now? Dean Riding was slightly surprised, but he didn't take it too seriously. However, he kept an eye on it. If he was unlucky and didn't get what he wanted on this island, then he would go to Luogia. Not to mention, Luogia must have it. Of course, the members of the Luogia pirates are not here now. If they were, he wouldn't have to make another trip. Soon, Dean Riding moved a bottle of flagon from the ship, when the retrograde came to the side of the Oro Jackson. He engraved the words Dean Riding on the inside of the flagon and dropped it on the deck of his ship. The reason for doing this is just in case. I was afraid that they didn't buy what they wanted in the town, and when they came back, Luogia would also leave. Okay, landed on the island. 0.95 huh. Dean Riding is here. Seek full order. The words fell. In an instant, the retrograde was surrounded by white light. Then, the white light became smaller and smaller, and flew towards the coast. In the end, the light faded, and it was Dean Riding's gang that emerged in everyone's eyes. At this time, the retrograde also retransformed into a human form. She beamed, a little happy because of her heart. Although it turns into a boat, it can still chat with Tushan Yaya and others. Even so, there are still many things that cannot be done. Now, it is normal to be happy when changing human form again. Sister Yaya, Sister Tall, I miss you so much. The retrograde danced happily and hugged Thor in the past. And Thor, a nervous guy, hugged the retrograde with a smile on his face and began to circle around happily. I miss you too. Without your help in the kitchen, the taste of cooking is not as good as before. When will Dean Riding help you? When changing the ship, you can also shape a body. Dean Riding frowned. What do you say? It's okay for you to let yourself find someone to fight. How could he reshape his body? He fumbled with his chin, lost in thought. 437. Maybe, if you continue to upgrade, this function may be possible. But he couldn't guarantee it. Also, as for the specific ability of the retrograde, Dean Riding is not clear either. You need to use Devil Fruit to upgrade before you can see what abilities are unlocked. At this time, Thor made a sound. The expectant eyes of the retrograde also looked over. Dean Riding shook his head. We'll have to look at the details later. Look at it in detail, that is to say, there is still hope. Although it is not confirmed, the retrograde and Thor are still very happy. The two embraced again and spun around happily. Everyone also sneered. This picture is also okay. Thor and the retrograde can be regarded as seasonings to reconcile the atmosphere in the ship. Everyone walked forward and chatted. When their figures completely disappeared on the coast. About 10 minutes passed. Luogia and others rushed into the boat with crates of fine wine and food. Garp and Sengoku are really nothing. My A is still hot from sitting on this island, and those two guys chased after me. Although the words were so cursing, the smile on Luogia's face was bright. Some expectations, but also some disgust. The expectation is to play against Garp Sengoku. I dislike it, because Lousie's butt is not even hot, and he is about to start running around again. Rayleigh squinted and smiled lightly. He was very clear about his own captain's character. Advertisement. He didn't answer Luogia's topic, but said another way. Speaking of which, marine guys are paying more and more attention to us. Jabba, who was carrying a few large boxes, poked his head out, looked at Rayleigh, and continued. It's normal, we are not as low-key as we were more than a year ago, and before we know it, we have become it is normal for a giant in the new world to be targeted. Ha ha ha. Luogia laughed loudly, and said disapprovingly. Shit, Garp and Sengoku just don't like us, otherwise, why doesn't he go after Locks, why does he keep chasing us? Indeed, in this new world, the Luogia pirates are not as famous as the Locks pirates. It is common sense to chase once. It was a coincidence to chase it twice. However, this year, at least 7 or 8 times. This is not a coincidence. This is obviously not pleasing to the eye. Bae, Rayleigh and Jabba just smiled and didn't answer. When they complained, they had already arrived in front of the Oro Jackson. Everyone put everything on the ground. Luogia casually took out a bottle from the wine box, opened the lid, sat on the box, and started drinking. Rayleigh, I leave the rest to you. This time, Luogia and the others collected a lot of supplies, mainly to prevent landing on the island. After all, Garp and Sengoku were chasing closely. Only by preparing more supplies can we completely get rid of Garp and Sengoku. Rayleigh's actions were the same as Luogia's. He took out a bottle of wine, opened the lid, sat on the box, and said calmly, let the others do the work of moving things. After taking a sip, he randomly arranged 7 or 8 people to go to the town to move things. Sitting here chatting for a while, the bottle of fine wine was empty before long, so he casually threw the bottle aside, stretched himself, and then carried the box to the boat. As soon as he went up, a medium-sized wine bottle caught his eyes. He was slightly taken aback. Whose jug fell here? After wondering for a while, he let out a smirk. Anyway, it doesn't matter who owns it. If there is a drink and it's finished, I don't know who drank it. He quickly put down the suitcase in his hand, then walked quickly to the wine jug, saw that he didn't look at it, removed the stopper, and took a deep breath. Familiar and yet unfamiliar strong fragrance hits the nostrils. He was startled for a moment, his eyes widened. This wine. Gulu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He quickly looked at the jug. Soon, Jung Enraiden, these four obvious big characters were reflected in his eyes. Dean writing. With a smile in his heart, Luo Jia touched the four words behind him, and the debris in the pot stuck to his fingers. At this moment, he was overjoyed. And scraps of lettering. So, it should have been engraved not long ago. Could it be? Is Dean writing here? Luo Jia looked around, but did not see any traces of other ships around. At the same time, Rayleigh and Jabba boarded the boat while chatting while carrying the boxes. They haven't realized what happened yet. Luo Jia shouted. Dean writing is coming. Rayleigh and Jabba were startled at the same time, looking at Luo Jia in surprise. What are you saying? .96 Conquerors intertwining, seeking full order. Rayleigh and Jabba don't know why. Turn around and look around. Don't say anything about Dean writing, didn't even see a ghost. The two of them sighed. This was not the first time that Luo Jia had been like this. When drinking and joking before, Luo Jia would also make such jokes. This guy Luo Jia, really, keeps making such silly jokes. Rayleigh on the side smiled indifferently. Isn't this very good, very energetic? However, Luo Jia was not happy when he heard what the two of them said. Too much. You believe me when I tell lies. If I tell the truth, you won't believe me. Looking at the flagon with the word, Dean writing, in his hand, he frowned slightly. Damn, that guy Dean writing is really here. Luo Jia, don't be lazy, there are still a lot of things that haven't been brought up. Jabba reminded at this time. Are you kidding me? You want to be lazy with this little trick, but I know it clearly. With a helpless face, Luo Jia showed the flagon in his hand, and said with a smile. I'm not kidding, look, this flagon still has the four words Dean writing written on it. Moreover, this kind of flagon inside the wine is exactly the kind we drank back then. After all, he threw it away directly. After all, there is nothing more proof than this. After Rayleigh took it, he glanced at the four words on the flagon, his expression changed slightly, and then he moved to the mouth of the bottle and took a deep breath. It was the kind of strong fragrance back then. Jabba on the side paused for a moment, and joked. I feel like you two are partnering to make fun of me. After all, Jabba didn't hesitate, and quickly reached out to snatch the flagon from Rayleigh's hand. Then he moved his nose to the flagon and took a deep breath. In the next second, his face changed drastically. I rely on. This is so, really. Dean writing is here. Jabba looked at Luo Jia in shock. Probably. Luo Jia is not too sure, maybe it is possible that he really came. On the way, in order to prove that he had been here, he dropped a bottle of wine and engraved the words Dean writing to prove that he had been here. Rayleigh squinted thoughtfully, with a kind smile on his face. Perhaps, Dean writing really came here. The reason why he didn't meet us was because he felt that the time for us to meet has not yet come. Luo Jia didn't take it seriously, he muttered. Why isn't the time yet? There is also a time to meet. Dean writing that guy is real, we haven't seen each other for more than a year, why don't we have a good time? Reminiscing about the old days. Come on, Luo Jia, I think you're greedy for other people's wine again. Jabba was not polite, and quickly raised the flagon in his hand, and put it into his own mouth. What didn't talk about the old days? You when I first met you. You guys must be greedy for other people's wine. Luo Jia didn't respond to Jabba's words. However, Luo Jia became impatient with Jabba's actions. Jabba, enough of you, it was left to me by Dean writing, you be asterisk 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 D, bought it first. Luo Jia said, and hurried over. Jabba was also in a hurry, took a few sips, and then quickly handed the jug to Rayleigh. Hey, let me give you a taste, the taste is still very good. Naturally, Rayleigh was not polite. Based on his understanding of Luo Jia, if he took this opportunity to take a sip now, he might not have the chance later. Immediately after taking it, he drank it in big gulps. All of a sudden, Luo Jia's heart ached. Advertisement. You two bastards, I said it for you to smell. Fortunately for you, you even got there first and tasted it yourself. Hey, Rayleigh, save some for me. Grr. After taking 2 sips in a row, Rayleigh stopped in satisfaction, and said with a smile on his face, don't worry, Luo Jia, I've kept everything for you. After a long time, the Luo Jia pirates have moved all the collected materials back to the ship. However, they did not leave immediately, but continued to wait on the coast. It seems that he feels that Dean writing will definitely come back. And the result, it was about the same as what Luo Jia had guessed. Dean writing over there. After buying what he needed in the town, he rushed over to the Luo Jia pirates. The purpose was also very clear, he just wanted to come and see if he could run into Luo Jia and the others. If there are still only boats here, then they leave. If Luo Jia and the others were around, he would have a drink and talk, catch up on the old days, and finally implement his plan. 0 looking for flowers. Captain Luo Jia. Captain Luo Jia. Suddenly at this moment, the crew member who was observing through the binoculars on the top of the ship yelled. After hearing the voice, Luo Jia, who was still with Rayleigh, Jabba and others, all looked forward to the reputation. There was a hint of anticipation in their eyes. Tay. Yes. Dean writing them. As soon as these words came out, there was no doubt that Luo Jia and the others immediately became excited. In the blink of an eye, they came to the ship's railing. Look around. As reported by his own crew. At this moment, Dean Riding and his group are rushing towards him. 0. Dean Riding. Luo Jia was overjoyed. I knew that this guy would definitely not walk so fast. Dropped a bottle to let me know he was coming. After thinking about it for a while, Luo Jia pulled out the western sword, Ace, from his waist, and then shouted in the direction of Dean Riding. Dean Riding. Dean Riding, who was still chatting, heard the sound and looked forward. Although the distance was still a little far away, he could still see Luo Jia on the boat. Luo Jia, this guy. Seeing the long sword waving in his hand, Dean Riding naturally knew what he wanted to do. Is this a way to reminisce about the old days? It seems not bad, just right. I also want to experience the strength of the future One Piece. The corners of Dean Riding's mouth curled up slightly. The retrograde at the side summoned his weapon very thoughtfully. This weapon is exactly the one held by the statue in the middle of the retrograde ship. And with the humanization of the retrograde, the giant sword will also become smaller. Of course, becoming bigger and smaller is just an idea of the retrograde, and of course, everyone on board can do this. Dean Riding, who took the long sword, ran wildly, and the Conqueror's Haki was wrapped around the long sword. Seeing this, Luo Jia's pupils shrank slightly, and the next second, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Sure enough, this guy has also mastered the power that only a small number of strong people can master. After saying that, he jumped and landed on the land, and while running, the Conqueror's Haki was entwined around the western sword Shangmaru. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites shared the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Begging to subscribe. 97 Luo Jia and Dean Riding, full order. After a while, when the two reached a certain distance, Dean Riding jumped up, swung the long sword wrapped around Conqueror's Haki, and slashed at Luo Jia. Luo Jia was startled for a moment, stopped his pace for an instant, and also swung the western sword that had been wrapped around Conqueror's Haki to attack. When sounded, the long sword and the western sword obviously did not collide. But there was a deafening crash. In an instant, a huge air current suddenly appeared. The earth cracked and the wind howled. The rocks were overturned, the big trees were uprooted, and rushed into the distance. An extremely powerful sense of coercion spread in all directions. Even 030. At this moment, to everyone's surprise, a vision descended from heaven. Above the sky, the cumulus clouds tore apart, and the purple thunder and lightning rumbled, giving people a feeling that the sky was about to collapse. It's unmistakable, this is something that only a small number of strong people can do at present, Conqueror's Haki winding. Jabba said with a slightly dignified expression. He never imagined that Dean Riding also possessed this kind of power. Speaking of this ability, I have fought with Luo Jia many times but still haven't comprehended it. I never thought that Dean Riding, who has never appeared before, has mastered it. Rayleigh stared straight ahead, somewhat disappointed in his heart. Joke. Where can I not get lost? Anyway, I am also a person who has experienced many battles with Luo Jia. Many times it was a near-death situation. And what about Dean Riding? During this year, he was never mentioned in the newspapers. If something happened, in his capacity, it was impossible not to mention it. The reason why it was not mentioned is that it must have passed a year in peace and stability. That's how people who have been stable for a year can master the Conqueror's Haki winding that only a few strong people can master. Who doesn't doubt life? As that man the Dean Riding that Captain Luo Jia kept talking about. A crew member who had been on the ship not long ago also spoke at this time. It's too strong. Haki's collision can be compared with Captain Luo Jia's. That's right, such a Haki collision is rare even in the New World. Big trees are rising from the ground, mountains are falling and the ground is cracking, and the clouds are tearing apart. Tisk tisk tisk, if I also have this kind of ability, I guess I can come across in New World. This guy named Dean Riding, his strength is really terrifying. I vaguely remember that his bounty is not high, but his strength. Speaking of the latter, he shook his head involuntarily. Advertisement. Is it great? That must be great. In New World, Conqueror's Haki is different from Armament Haki and Observation Haki. Conqueror's Haki is innate and cannot be acquired through training. It cannot be hereditary, and can only be determined by one's own fate. And even if Conquerors can be controlled freely, it cannot be strengthened by exercise, and can only be strengthened by the growth of the user himself. Conqueror's Haki, this is the chosen one's Haki, that only one person out of millions has. It's hard to own it yourself. What's more, after owning it, use it on weapons. Luo Jia, it seems that your strength has improved a lot this year. Dean Riding tightly held the long sword in his hand, and grinned at Luo Jia. Ha 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 ha. Luo Jia laughed loudly, but he didn't relax. It's you. I haven't seen you for more than a year. I thought you were dead, but I never expected that not only did you not die, but your strength also seemed to have increased tremendously. Dean Riding gave him a blank look. 0. To your uncle. You just died. Now, with the strength of the retrograde, it is difficult for outsiders to kill Dean Riding. Luo Jia naturally noticed Dean Riding's changing face, but he didn't care. An hour later, the coast. Dozens of grills were set up. The meat sizzled on the grill. The strong fragrance wafts around. Dozens of barrels of fine wine were put aside. Dean Riding, Luo Jia, Rayleigh, Jabba, Senju Hashirama, Ace Kano and others gathered together, chatting and laughing. How is it? Is my experience this year interesting? Luo Jia was biting the barbecue with one hand, and holding a glass of fine wine with the other. He had no image at all. Compared with others, Dean Riding is more solemn, holding a glass of fine wine in his hand, and still chewing the barbecue in his mouth. It's really exciting. Of course, this is not to deal with Luo Jia. It's what 0.3 Dean Riding really thinks. He thought he knew the world of One Piece well. After meeting Luo Jia, he realized that what he knew was only the tip of the iceberg. Ha 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 ha. Dean Riding, I told you before that I asked you to be with me, otherwise, you have also experienced the things I have experienced. Luo Jia laughed. Dean Riding laughed and said nothing. Rayleigh also said at this time, what about you? Dean Riding, I haven't heard anything from you for a year. Me. Dean Riding pondered for a few seconds, and then said flatly, I've been too boring this year, I have nothing to say, I just stayed in Dor Vega all the time. 98 Luo Jia, are you going to the Holy Land Mariajoy? Seek full order. What? I can't stand the loneliness in Dor Vega all the time, do you plan to go to sea now? Probably. Dean Riding nodded. There are actually two reasons for him to go to sea. First, as Luo Jia said, he really felt a little lonely staying in Dor Vega. The second point is that he knows very well that since Marine will come to Dor Vega once, he will definitely come a second time. Although, he is not very afraid of Marine's attack, but on the one hand, he considers his feelings for Dor Vega. On the other hand, considering that they are on the bright side and Marine is on the dark side, no one knows when Marine will attack next. Instead of staying in Dor Vega in a passive state, it's better to sail directly to solve the loneliness of these years, and the sea is their home field. I believe that they will be able to cope with the encirclement and suppression led by Marshal Marine. Then you must have plans for this voyage, and you are going somewhere. Yes, if it's possible, can we let the Luo Jia pirates go with the 10? Luo Jia smiled and raised his mouth. Dean Riding, who's been in Dor Vega for so long? Now that I have the idea of going to sea, I must go to some interesting place. And his idea of following Dean Riding is also very simple, that is, to think about where the interesting place Dean Riding is going to be. On the other hand, he hasn't tasted the fine wine that Dean Riding made himself for a full year. Now, I finally met Dean Riding, so I must have had a good drink during this time. Yeah, Dean Riding, with our Luo Jia pirates accompanying us, we can act as bodyguards for you. Rayleigh echoed. Anyway, our Luo Jia pirates are also wandering around in the sea during this period of time, without a precise goal, how about we follow together in a short time and take care of each other? Jabba also said the same. The three of them followed Dean Riding for nothing but to taste the peerless wine. Do you really want to follow us? Dean Riding asked with a meaningful smile. Oh, the more you talk about it, the more curious I become. Luo Jia grinned. Before Dean Riding could speak, the retrograde on the side responded. Master Dean Riding is going to take us to the Holy Land Mariajoy. If you want to go, go with us too. What? Holy place Mariajoy. That's the headquarters of the world government. It is rumored that the Holy Land of Mariajoy is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The number of powerful people is no less than that of naval headquarters. Are you going to this dangerous place? You guys, are you kidding me? Luo Jia, Rayleigh, and Jabba haven't spoken yet, but the many crew members behind them are not calm. What is the Holy Land Mariajoy? That is the headquarters of the world government. And the world government is the immediate boss of naval headquarters. Naval headquarters is one of the top forces in this sea today. Not to mention the background and power possessed by the world government. It can even be said that the danger of going to the Holy Land Mariajoy is far greater than the danger of the military headquarters in the past. Dean Riding, this joke is not funny at all. After a short shock, Luo Jia suppressed his overwhelming emotions and patted him on the shoulder. Yeah, if you want to refuse us to follow, you don't have to give such a ridiculous reason. Rayleigh shrugged and smiled. You know, the current Dean Riding bounty is only 530 million Baileys. Although, Rayleigh is very clear that this bounty does not represent the strength of Dean Riding. Advertisement. And just saw that Dean Riding has mastered Conqueror's winding, which very few talents have mastered. But, they still don't know much about Dean Riding's specific strength. But Rayleigh guessed that no matter how strong Dean Riding was, he couldn't match Luo Jia. Not to mention the crew behind him. Dean Riding's strength is second only to Luo Jia's. Then the crew behind him is the largest, and they are also at the same level as him and Jabba, or a level weaker. Such forces want to go to the Holy Land Mariajoy. This is totally courting death. Well, I don't have the idea of joking. Dean Riding spread his hands calmly. His purpose of going to the Holy Land of Mariajoy is very simple, that is to cause some troubles to the world government and marine. After all, instead of waiting for these people to take the initiative to attack, he might as well launch a sneak attack. You know, the current him has summoned a lot of top combat power from 10,000 realms. It can even be said that none of Dean Riding's crew is lower than Yin Zhong. With these people, how about a trip to the Holy Land Mariajoy? Hearing Dean Riding's words, Luo Jia didn't respond, but stared at him directly, trying to find the answer from his eyes. However, Dean Riding's eyes were firm, and he couldn't see the slightest sign of lying. Luo Jia couldn't help but took a breath and said, You guys, do you really want to go to the Holy Land Mariajoy? With Luo Jia's years of experience in seeing people, he said that Dean Riding was telling the truth. They are a group of people who are really going to the Holy Land of Mariajoy. But, this makes it difficult for Luo Jia to calm down. They, the Luogia pirates, are still fighting with 377 marine. And Dean Riding actually planned to attack the stronghold of the world government, the holy land of Mariajoy. Such courage made Luogia more and more afraid of Daenrui. Ace Kano on the side said calmly, "Is there any place in this world that we can't go to?" Joke. Who is he? He is Sin of Pride Ace Kano. And Dean Riding is his captain. In this world, there is no place they cannot go to. It's just a trip to the holy place Mariajoy, is it worth your surprise? Senju Hashirama echoed. After hearing the accurate replies from several people, Jabba wiped the sweat from his brow, and said in shock, "You are really planning to do something big. So, do you still want to accompany me?" Dean Riding asked with a slight smile. Looking at Dean Riding's smile, Luogia and others seemed to be watching a devil. A devil who is not afraid of the world government and is going to do amazing things. And, not just one, but all of them. Dean Riding isn't alone in thinking of going to the holy land of Mariajoy. His crew, all of them, have no fear at all. Even, Luogia could see the expectation on the faces of several people. .99 This is my boat. Expect. Yes, that's right, exactly what to expect. When they uttered the name Mariajoy, no one showed fear on their faces, and the expressions they showed were exactly expectations. Even, in their view, the holy land of Mariajoy seems like a back garden. Go if you want. Dean Riding, what kind of monsters are you recruiting? Luogia swallowed a mouthful of saliva and thought to himself. Captain Luogia, this entourage is too dangerous, we need to be cautious and think twice. Yes, Captain Luogia, the world government is more dangerous than the naval headquarters. If we follow, we may be close to death. A group of crew members talked and said, since they would choose to join the Luogia pirates to be honest. To become one of them, to become the pirates of this sea, they naturally entrusted their lives to Luogia. But, world government is too dangerous in their eyes. Now they can only talk to each other, but, if Luogia insists on going, they will still choose to follow. Ha ha ha, although it is a very crazy thing, since I have already said that I will follow you, I will not break my promise, but I will go alone. Luogia laughed. Luogia never reneges on what he has said. But how dangerous the holy land Mariajoy is, he still has a better understanding. For this extremely dangerous area, he did not choose to take his crew along with him, putting them in danger, and only planned to follow Dean Riding alone. After all, he was the one who offered to follow Dean Riding himself. Ha 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 ha. But let's forget it, Luogia, I think there are still things that give you headaches in this sea, so I won't cause you any more trouble, besides, we are enough. Dean Riding spread his arms and laughed. Dean Riding, you're off the mark, we're friends. With your words, I am already very happy Luogia, but as I said just now, we are enough. Okay then. But having said that, Dean Riding, the holy land Mariajoy is extremely dangerous, why do you suddenly want to go to that dangerous place? Pipe question mark quote. Rayleigh asked suddenly. I'm not interested in the holy land of Mariajoy, but Marine has repeatedly troubled me and threatened me. Wouldn't it be too weak if I didn't fight back? Dean Riding explained. The main reason why he wanted to attack Mariajoy, the holy land, was because Marshal Bunye threatened him through the phone bug. Want to use Buster Call, except Dor Vega. This point made Dean Riding a little angry. After all, this is where he has lived for a long time. In addition, with his personality, he was naturally very unhappy about being threatened. So, the idea of attacking the holy place of Mariajoy was born. Are you ready to face such a behemoth? Rayleigh suddenly asked seriously. A huge monster. Mariajoy, a mere holy place. In my opinion, it's just a group of miscellaneous fish. Akunologia said with a look of disdain. He used to be in his own world, but his combat power was absolutely ceiling. And his strength is enough to destroy the world. He is so proud that he doesn't put everything in the world in his eyes. After coming to this world, the same is true. The holy land Mariajoy is also considered a giant. That is why I have not met him. District Sanctuary Mariajoy. This is the top power in this world. Is it actually called the power of miscellaneous fish by you? I'll go. Although this is the first time I've seen this man, it's the first time I've seen a man with such courage. How do I feel? From his point of view, the holy land Mariajoy is really just a trash force. Advertisement. The crew behind Luogia were shocked when they heard his words, and they talked a lot. If it is someone else, it is just a miscellaneous fish force to say that the holy land Mariajoy. Surely they'd laugh about it. But looking at Akunologian's confident, proud, and firm eyes. For some reason, they couldn't think of a hint of ridicule in their hearts. Even for a moment, I felt that what Akunologia said was true. Sanctuary Mariajoy, in his opinion, is just trash. UB ************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************ World government has a strong dominance in this world. It can even be said that the world government is the overlord of this world. And Akunologia didn't take such forces seriously. Although Luogia doesn't know the strength of Akunologia. But the courage and momentum conveyed by him, as well as the arrogance and disdain that emerge from his bones. Let Luogia know that the crew recruited by Dean Riding is definitely a monster. Well, if we are not prepared, will we go to the Holy Land Mariajoy? Besides, our purpose is not to confront the monsters in the Holy Land Mariajoy, but to cause some damage. Dean Riding spread his hands. He doesn't want to fight the 5 elders and other strong men just yet, if he can. Just going to cause some damage to the Holy Land Mariajoy. Since you've made up your mind, I won't say much advice. I hope your trip goes well, otherwise I'm afraid I won't be able to drink the fine wine you made yourself in the future. Luo Jia said solemnly. Backquote, don't worry Luo Jia, the end of my journey will not end in the Holy Land Mariajoy. But let's get down to business. I'm looking for you this time, not just to discuss these things. We want to go to the Holy Land Mariajoy, although we have already bought the relevant eternal pointer on the island, but it is a bit far away from the Holy Land Mariajoy. We may need to go to the Holy Land after arriving by the eternal pointer for the second time, and finally arrive near the Holy Land Mariajoy. So on your ship, do you have the eternal pointer for the islands that are closer to the Holy Land Mariajoy? Dean Riding asked. On our ship, there is indeed an eternal pointer to an island that is closer to the Holy Land Mariajoy. Luo Jia nodded. It seems that this will save us a lot of trouble. If Luo Jia's boat was not close to the Red Line Eternal Pointer, they would probably have to spend some time looking for it in this sea. However, if you want the Eternity Pointer, you can exchange it with the fine wine on the ship. Luo Jia changed the subject and said with a smile. I knew you would not give it to me easily. Dean Riding smiled helplessly. But having said that, where did your ship go? It seems Wang's good is not around here. Rayleigh asked curiously. In their field of vision, they could only see a ship at their feet. In a radius of several hundred meters, there are no other boats other than this. The retrograde. Dean Riding stood up, rubbed the hair of Yuji, who was in the form of the retrograde, and said. I see. She nodded. Then he stood on Luo Jia's railing and jumped down. Hello. What is she doing here? Jabba asked with a puzzled look. I don't understand. Rayleigh's face was also full of doubts. He just asked, where's Dean Riding's boat? Why did this lady jump directly from the railing of the boat? What kind of psychedelic operation is this? Boom. Suddenly there was a loud noise, and an extremely huge ship suddenly appeared in front of the Luo Jia pirate group's ship. To be precise, it should be a battleship. An unrivaled, beautiful and oppressive battleship Lee. .100 Marshal Bunye, I'm wrecked. What's going on? What happened? The woman jumped down just now, why did a battleship suddenly appear? Although I don't understand what happened, but having said that, the configuration of this ship is too top-notch. Compared with it, the ship of our Luo Jia pirates is not good enough. That's right, our ship, no matter how you say it, is made of Adam, the world's top wood treasure tree. Why do I always feel that the ship in front of me is much more advanced than our ship? At the beginning of the period, they were still shocked, how good it was, a warship suddenly appeared. But when they looked at the battleship carefully, without exception, everyone was shocked. The ship is like a giant beast. Magnificent, huge, magnificent, full of beauty. The momentum is like a rainbow, very oppressive. No one would have thought that it is this giant warship, her human form is a royal sister. Is it my eyesight? Rayleigh rubbed his eyes, staring at the battleship in front of him. He couldn't see the existence of a boat just now, so why did he jump off with that sister you? Suddenly such a huge ship appeared at 400. If I'm not mistaken, did this crew member of yours eat the devil fruit related to the ship? Luo Jia suddenly thought of something and asked. Although eating devil fruit, it is a bit outrageous to transform from a person into a ship. But this is not impossible, because devil fruit possesses miraculous power. Probably. Dean Riding didn't explain too much. After saying that, Dean Riding brought several barrels of fine wine he made himself from the boat and put them on the boat of Luo Jia pirates. In the end, it was successfully exchanged for the eternal pointer to the island near the Holy Land Mariajoy. As long as there is this eternal pointer, then Dean Riding can go straight to the Holy Land Mariajoy. Then goodbye, Luo Jia. After switching to the eternal pointer, Dean Riding returned to the retrograde with all the members, ready to set sail, and then set off for the Holy Land of Mariajoy. Luo Jia and the others couldn't help saying in shock as they watched the retrograde gradually go away. Dean Riding, the recruited crew are all monsters. Perhaps, they really, bad B, could attack the Holy Land and Mariajoy escape unscathed, because I can't figure out 10 of his ships. I really envy this guy, Dean Riding, who has so many like-minded crew members around him. The proposal to go to the Holy Land of Mariajoy must undoubtedly have been proposed by Dean Riding as the captain. But, in the face of such crazy ideas and actions, none of his crew had a complaint. All follow Dean Riding's advice, and all go to the Holy Land of Mariajoy. It can even be said to be full of anticipation. Have to say, Dean Riding's crew is not only terrible. Moreover, everything is under his firm control. Such courage, such leadership. I believe that even the top leader of the world government will find it difficult to do it. One day later, New World, a certain sea area. There is a marine warship driving here, and there are 2 rocking chairs in the middle of the deck of the ship. And the rocking chair, its naval headquarters Marshal Bunye, and naval headquarters highest combat power, Marine Admiral Kong. Advertisement. Just as the two were leisurely lying on the deck basking in the sun, a Marine Vice Admiral hurriedly ran out from the cabin and said, Marshal Bunye, the world government is calling. Blue, Brew, 594. The sound of the phone bug spread throughout the deck. Yes. Bu Near turned his head slightly, glanced at him, remained unmoved, and continued to lie on the chair. Here, is it all right for Marshal Bunye not to answer the phone? Marine Vice Admiral responded cautiously. I just want to be quiet for a while now, and quickly put the phone bug aside, it's too noisy. Bunye said impatiently. To be honest, the thing he regrets the most in his life is becoming the so-called Marine Marshal. Although this profession gave him the status of being below zero and above 10,000 in naval headquarters. But there are simply too many things that need to be busy. Since he became the Marine Marshal, he has hardly stopped. Either processing documents, or chasing pirates, either being scolded, or on the way to be scolded. Now he has finally made up his mind and is going to go out to sea with Kong to relax. Naturally, he would not answer this call bug from the world government. Anyway, if you pick it up now, you will definitely be scolded. It would be better to rest for a few days before being scolded. I see. Marine Vice Admiral didn't dare to say more, and quickly ran back to the cabin with the phone bug. Ha ha ha. Bunye guesses that group of world government guys are scolding you behind your back. Kong turned his head and smiled. Never mind him. Those troublesome things, whoever likes to deal with them. Anyway, now I'm letting go, and the feeling of being free is good. Bunye said lightly. The current him can be said to be completely broken. After all, it has been a headache for so many years. Now that he was so comfortable lying on the deck basking in the sun, he didn't want to go back to that troublesome office again. Well, it's true, there are so many troublesome things, and we can't finish them. Kong nodded. Now in this sea, the Locks Pirates Jinping has become the overlord of the new world. Afterwards, the Luogia pirate group reached its pinnacle, followed Locks closely, and became New World, the almost second-in-command pirate group. And, there is also the retrograde, a pirate group that has great potential, threatens, and even makes them unable to figure it out. Not only that, but a group of pirates has recently appeared in this sea. That is Wald Pirates, the captain of this pirate group, named Berndi Wald. He's a man who ate a doubling devil fruit. These days, Berndi Wald is looking for New World's marine base almost all the time, and destroying it. In view of his threat, and madness, plus strength. Berndi Wald increased his bounty to a terrifying value in a very short period of time. A whole 1.5 billion Baileys. There are so many sea powerhouses, causing troubles for their marines all the time. How can they not have a headache? All in all, as the saying goes, there are endless troubles to deal with. Or rather, unmanageable. If that's the case, wouldn't it be good to just smash it? When you are in the mood, you can deal with it. 101 Akuno Logia vs Marine. The sun was hanging high, emitting warm sunlight, provoking the two of them. The breeze floats, everything is so quiet and peaceful, people can't help but want to take a nap. Suddenly the high-altitude sun was covered, and dark clouds appeared, blocking the sun. Dark clouds gather and the weather changes drastically. The originally sunny and peaceful atmosphere was instantly broken. Boom! Thunder and lightning flashed high in the sky, and hideous bolts of lightning flashed across the dark clouds and struck the sea. The weather in New World is like this, changeable, unpredictable and difficult to predict. It may be that the sky is clear and clear 1 second, the next second it will be covered with dark clouds, and the next second there may be a storm or something. This damn weather. Bunye stood up angrily, looking at the dark clouds high in the sky, his good mood was deeply affected. Looks like I won't be able to bask in the sun today. Kong stretched and stood up. It's such a headache. Is there anything more troublesome than the weather changing while basking in the sun? Bunye sighed. Today is the second day of his bad performance. This god, it seems to be targeting him. He hadn't basked in the sun for long before dark clouds had already emerged. There are even signs of rain, and the choice of continuing to bask in the sun is obviously not feasible right now. Well, the weather is like this, just get used to it. Kong spread his hands as usual. Let's find some generals to play mahjong. Bunye said. Pretty good idea. Just when the two hit it off and were about to play mahjong back. A scout suddenly shouted. Marshal Bunye, Kong Admiral, a huge ship has been found ahead. It seems to be a pirate ship. The giant pirate ship he was talking about was Dean Reese's retrograde. Because of Dean Riding's goal this time around, it's the Holy Land of Mariajoy. And the ship that Bunye and Kong were on came down from the Holy Land Mariajoy to set out the mission. So hit it straight, and the scout didn't recognize the boat as Dean Riding's. That's because not many people, even the top executives of naval headquarters, have seen the ship retrograde with their own eyes. Although a few days ago, when Dean Riding left Dor Vega, the photo of the boat was registered in the newspaper. But, don't forget that Dean Riding isn't the famous New World pirate. So his newspaper, not all marine soldiers will pay attention to it. Since the scout hadn't read the newspapers a few days ago, he naturally didn't know whose ship this ship belonged to. Pirate ship, just sink it, it's not a big deal. Bunye waved his hand. Bunye didn't have the slightest interest in the giant ship that the scouts were talking about. Now he just wants to go back to the house and play mahjong with Kong and marine generals. Whose ship is the other side? Kong asked vigilantly. I don't know about this. The scout shook his head slightly. That seems to be just an ordinary pirate. According to Ibnir, let's sink it. Come in and play mahjong, Kong. Don't let these little pirates affect our interest. Bunye greeted Kong as he walked into the cabin. I see. Kong also walked towards the cabin. Fire. As the scout's voice fell, the many cannons on the ship aimed at the retrograde that was about to sail. On the other side, Dean Riding is playing poker with Senju Hashirama and others in the room. Boom boom boom. Advertisement. Accompanied by several loud noises, everyone raised their heads slightly and saw the shells in the sky. Huh, are we being attacked again? Senju Hashirama wondered. Not long ago, they were attacked by Vice Admiral Justin of Naval Headquarters. Why now there are people who don't know what to do and attack them? Lord Dean writing, the attacking ship is a marine ship. The retrograde reminded while defending against the shell attack. Marine again. These troublesome guys really don't want to stop. Akunologia put the cards in his hand on the table and stood up. Dean writing saw that he had the idea of doing something, and reminded him, it's just a marine, that's all Akunologia, let the retrograde take care of such trivial matters. The strength of the retrograde, and everyone on board, have seen it with their own eyes. Even a vice admiral like Justin couldn't stand up to several attacks from the retrograde at all. It's been a while since I came to this world, so let me relieve my boredom. Akunologia responded. Zero looking for flowers. You know, Akunologia came to this world as early as a year ago. But he has been following Dean writing and others, dormant in Dor Vega. Hardly ever fought anyone. As a militant, how can he keep calm like this? Although he didn't pay attention to Marine at all, it was okay to relieve the boredom a little bit. Well, up to you. Dean writing spread his hands. With Dean writing's permission, Akunologia didn't stay on the boat too long, and came out of the cabin. Boom boom boom. High in the sky, extremely dense artillery shells appeared again, and the black mass, like a flock of crows, covered the sky. I saw his palm stretched out, and a group of surging dark matter condensed in his palm. In the next second, dark matter flew out of his palm and hit the high-altitude shell. Boom. There was a deafening bang. All the high-altitude shells were detonated, and black smoke covered the sky, making it impossible for the marine battleship in the distance to see the situation of the retrograde. Just when the scouts wanted to continue to order and fire shells. Suddenly he noticed that a man with wings growing from his back was approaching at high speed from the retrograde. He is Akunologia. The sudden speed was so fast that it even distorted the airflow in midair, and ultimate speed even blew a gust of wind howling. Enemy attack. The scout was shocked and shouted in a hurry. Tread. When his voice fell, Akunologia landed on the marine battleship. What followed was a howling gust of wind. Akunologia's speed is 1 point faster than the wind's speed. Who are you? The scout looked at Akunologia who suddenly appeared, terrified. You know, their marine battleship is hundreds of meters away from the retrograde. But it took only 1 second for Akunologia to move a distance of hundreds of meters. With this speed, no matter how stupid the scout is, he still knows that he is a ruthless character. Tap tat tat. A large number of marine soldiers surrounded and suppressed from all directions, holding weapons and watching the mouth of Akunologia vigilantly. .102 Top Conqueror's Haki. Why does this guy look familiar to me? He's on Dean Writing's crew. A marine general looked at Akunologia and suddenly thought of something and shouted. You know, a few days ago, when I was still in Dor Vega, all members of Dean Writing met. It was photographed by the people of the news agency and registered on the cover of the news magazine. Looking at this familiar face, the marine general who followed the newspaper recognized him at a glance. Turns out it's just Dean Writing's crew. Freak me out. I thought it was a ruthless character, but it turned out to be a crew member who joined Dean Writing's banner in the past year. For such a character, don't bother Marshal Bunye, we can get rid of him with Kong Admiral. Many generals on the ship looked at Akunologia and said, 040. There is no longer any fear of Akunologia in his heart. After all, based on their positions and their understanding, Dean Writing is just a pirate with a bounty of 530 million Baileys. Although this value is not low, it hasn't made them feel scared yet. And Akunologia didn't even offer a bounty in this sea. Naturally, they didn't take him too seriously. Are you really a group of pathetic weaklings, facing me with weapons? Akunologia said indifferently. Dean Writing, and several of his crew members with a bounty of over 100 million, we may not be opponents, but don't be too arrogant. A marine vice admiral snorted coldly. Why are you talking so much nonsense with him? Let's go together. Another marine vice admiral echoed. As his voice fell, many marine generals attacked Akunologia one after another. You don't deserve me to do it yourself. As his voice fell, the momentum of Akunologia's body rose extremely in the next second, reaching its peak directly. A dormant aura in his body, like a prehistoric beast, erupted. This is exactly Conqueror's Haki. As we all know, Conqueror's Haki cannot be cultivated, and only after the spiritual power of the awakened person reaches a certain level, will it become stronger accordingly. And Akunologia is the existence of the ceiling in the world of fairy tale. How terrifying is his spiritual power? When Conqueror's Haki was awakened for the first time, his Conqueror's level went directly to advanced. After living in this world for another year, his Conqueror's Haki has already reached the top level. Today, the top Conqueror's Haki is cast. Like a rainbow descending, covering the bodies of many marine generals, the indescribable sense of terror and oppression approached Tianling Gai. Ka ka ka. Cracks appeared on the deck under Akunologia's feet, including the surrounding ship rails, and the same was true, with greatly exaggerated cracks appearing. Bang bang bang. Countless marine generals, in the soul-crushing Conqueror's Haki, their eyes turned white and they fell to the ground. Only, some marine vice admirals with strong strength and experienced countless battles could barely stabilize their figure under this Conqueror's Haki. This is Conqueror's Haki, and it's Conqueror's Haki that can tear things apart. This Conqueror's Haki is even stronger than Marshal Bunye's. How is that possible? How is this possible? He's just a crew member on Dean Riding's ship. How could he have conquerors like that? Advertisement. Although I don't want to admit it, the guy in front of me is a real monster. When Akunology boarded the ship for the first time, the group of Marine Vice Admirals still didn't pay much attention to him. After all, no matter what, they are also the Vice Admirals of Naval Headquarters. They have extremely high positions and have experienced countless storms. Don't be intimidated by Dean Riding's no-bounty crew. They even felt that the man in front of them could easily solve it. But as Akunology casts conquerors, they realize how wrong they were. Because the man in front of me has such terrifying conquerors, that is to say, he is a powerful and terrifying monster. What happened? Suddenly there was a sound in the cabin, and Bunye and Kong ran out. The Conqueror's Haki cast by Akunology covers the entire ship. They were in the cabin, and they naturally felt the inspiration of conquerors, which even made their souls tremble a little. Marshal Bunye, Kong Admiral, this guy is Dean Riding's crew, a monster. A Marine Vice Admiral reminded. 0. Dean Riding's crew. Hearing this, Bunye was taken aback. The strength of Conqueror's Haki he felt just now has only been felt by Locks. He had thought Locks himself had struck. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be just a crew member under Dean Riding. It's indeed Dean Riding's crew, Kong said seriously. Looking at the photo of all the members of Riding, they naturally recognized the man in front of them. It was Dean Riding's. Are you kidding? When did Dean Riding have such a horrible crew? Bunye yelled. Also having trouble staying sane. And mental strength has a great relationship with one's own strength. But he couldn't believe it anyway, a crew member under Dean Riding. And right now, a crew member recruited by Dean Riding who doesn't even have a bounty has the strength of Locks. Possesses the amazing Conqueror's Haki with Locks. As the Marine Marshal, he knows it very well. Bunny can't take it. It is this new world, the role that is almost the overlord. It can be said that he is the man who stands on top of the sea and stands at the top of the world. But it was difficult for him to accept the facts before him. Even though he knew, Dean Riding was extremely threatening. I've seen you two on the news, Marine Marshal Bunye, Marine Admiral Kong. Akunologia looked at the two and said calmly. Locks, the man who gave them naval headquarters a headache. Impossible. It's impossible, although he has already recognized that the man in front of him is none other than Dean Riding's crew. Naturally, it has repeatedly appeared on the front page of newspapers. Conqueror's Haki cannot be practiced, and only the spiritual power of the awakened person can be strengthened accordingly. Kong and Bunye, after all, are the top combat power of naval headquarters. If Akunologia has this level of 5.1 conquerors, wouldn't it mean that his strength is close to that of Locks? 103 Battle of Kong Admiral and Marshal Bunye. If the crew of Dean Riding is here, it means that he himself is also nearby. Kong said solemnly. You know, Dean Riding is not just a crew member of Akunologia. There are several other members. Just this man who has joined Dean Riding for nearly a year without even offering a bounty, possesses such a top conqueror's Haki. Then how terrifying is Dean Riding's strength? And his other crew members, do they all possess that terrifying strength like the man in front of them? Kong had a lot of thoughts in his heart, and the more he thought about it, the more shocked he became. They just placed investigators in Dor Vega and evacuated them for a year. Dean Riding and others, do they have such strength during this time? No matter how you think about it, it is impossible. Damn it, what happened to Dor Vega this year? How could a monster like you appear? Niebuhr roared. Although the current him has not yet played against Akunologia. But he was able to use observation Haki to detect the majestic and incomparably powerful aura in Akunologia's body. Plus, the top-notch Conqueror's Haki he unleashed earlier. This made Niebuhr guess that the man in front of him must at least have Admiral-level combat strength. But, Admiral-level combat power is enough to stand at the top of this world. Why did such a man become Dean Riding's subordinate? Such a man, if he creates a pirate group, he will definitely become one of the masters of this sea in time. If he joins their marine, he will definitely become a naval headquarters' highest combat power in the future. But, Akunologia did not take these two roads. Instead, choose to be on Dean Riding's crew. Dean Riding, what kind of charm does he have to allow such a strong person to join his banner? If even such a terrifying powerhouse is willing to become Dean Riding's crew, then how terrifying his own strength has reached. And in this year's time, what level has the strength of Dean Riding's other crew members reached? At this moment, Bunye felt that his mind was in a mess, because looking at Akunologia in front of him, he felt that his world view seemed to be constantly being refreshed. They did envisage that Dean Riding, and his crew, held a great threat in the future. But they never expected that a crew member under Dean Riding who had not yet offered a bounty already possessed Admiral-level combat power. Before, they thought that Locks of New World was the most threatening man in this world. But now he knows that his idea of moving forward is completely wrong. Dean Riding is the most dangerous man in the world. The level of danger has even surpassed Locks. Are you finished? Akunologia looked at the two calmly. Hear Akunologia's words. Kong and Bunye also gradually calmed down from the shock. But they couldn't completely calm down at all, because their guesses were so shocking that they couldn't even believe it. Advertisement. Although I don't know what the strength of the man in front of me is, but Dean Riding must be nearby now. Since they haven't thought about doing it yet, then we have to take this guy down while this is the time. Neil turned towards Kong reminded. The two of us need to take him down in the shortest possible time. Kong took off the cloak of justice behind his back, and said solemnly. Superior. With Bunye's order, his body was as swift as a gust of wind, and he could reach the side of Akunalogia. The same is true for Kong, and in an instant, he has reached the other side of Akunalogia. In their first confrontation with Akunalogia, the two did not plan to preserve their own strength, but fought with it with all their strength. I saw that the fists of the two were wrapped with a layer of top-notch armament Haki, and the black paint covered their arms and fists. This top-notch armament Haki is enough to increase the destructive power of their fists by several times. Such an attack, even if it bombards a mountain, can penetrate the mountain. Anyway, the current Kong is the highest combat power of Naval Headquarters Admiral. Not to mention Bunye, as the Marshal of Naval Headquarters, how powerful he is. Go to hell, boy. With one voice, the two surrounded Akunalogia's left and right sides, and launched attacks at the same time, wanting to use the strongest force in the shortest time to take it down. After all, I still have some skills. It seems that I need to be more serious. Akunalogia said calmly. Although he didn't take anyone in this world seriously, he could still feel a lot of pressure from the fists of the two. Facing the siege and attack of the two, if you don't take it seriously, you may be injured. The fist collided with the palm, producing extremely terrifying ripples and shocks. Snapped. This is because the current Akunalogia has not mastered Haki in the third stage. The deck under several people's feet was unable to withstand such terrifying pressure, and countless cracks appeared. It looked as if it was about to sink into the sea. However, it can be seen that Kong and Bunye were not stained with a drop of water, and even the clothes did not feel wet. And on the sea level, the power generated by this attack caused waves of hundreds of feet high to be shaken. The terrifying air current oscillates in all directions. Akunalogia's arms and fists were covered with a layer of armament Haki. This is armament Haki, the power of the third stage. And the reason is that the sea water will fall on Akunalogia. As for Akunalogia, at this time he was like a drowned chicken, his whole body was infested by seawater, but soon the contaminated seawater on his body was swallowed by the power in his body. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. But this is because his spiritual power is really terrifying, so without much training, he has already brought Conqueror's Haki to that terrifying level. Then the arms spread out, holding Kong's fist with one hand and Bunye's fist with the other. The energy that was set off was like a violent storm, sweeping in all directions. Although his Conqueror's Haki has reached the top level. The waves towered high in the sky, covering the sky and the sun, and finally landed, submerging the three of them. That is to say, the external power can form a protective barrier around one's body, which can bounce off all attacks or liquids. 104 A mere marine can't stand me. But armament Haki is different from Conqueror's Haki. The armed color can be trained, and it needs the user to experience countless times before it can be strengthened. As for Akunalogia, although he is somewhat interested in the power of this world. However, in the final analysis, what he trusted more was his own strength. So for armament Haki, not too much training. However, even without any training, his armament Haki reached the second level in just 1 year. This is enough to prove how terrifying his talent is. With the help of his talent, Jokinorokia has carried out unremitting training in this year. The current him, armament Haki, has probably reached a high level, and is only one step away from the top level. Looking at everything in front of them, those Marine Vice Admirals who were still conscious and hadn't fallen to the ground were covered in cold sweat and froze in place. How is it possible? Block it. This guy actually blocked the joint attack of Marshal Bunye and Kong Admiral. This guy, what's going on? Is he really a human? Otherwise, how could he block the attacks of the two of them? Marshal Bunye and Kong Admiral's joint attack, even Locks can't block it like this. Could it be that the man in front of me is stronger than Locks? How is this possible? Locks is the overlord pirate of New World, and he is just a crew member of Dean Riding. It was hard for them to believe what was happening in front of them, because everything was like a dream, and it was too shocking. They knew that Akunalogia was no ordinary person. But they never expected that under the joint attack of Kong and Bunye. To be blocked so lightly. If Locks himself appeared here and blocked the attacks of the two, they would not believe it. Not to mention, the one who blocked the attack of the two was the big man in this sea. But just, an ordinary crew member under Dean Riding, who didn't even offer a bounty. Their worldview was completely subverted at this moment. Dean Riding, what a monster. Why would Akunalogia, a strong man with Locks-level combat power, willingly become his crew member? UB *********** D. Backquote. Kong looked at Akunalogia in disbelief. He couldn't believe the joint attack between him and Marshal Bunye. Now it was blocked by the palm of Akunalogia. You know, although this is the first round of confrontation between several people. But Kong and Bunye hardly retained much strength, but it was such an astonishing offensive that was blocked by Akunalogia so lightly. This guy is really a monster. Bunye looked at the man in front of him and praised him sincerely. Although Akunalogia is the enemy, but this level of strength has to make Bunye shocked and praised. Sure enough, I still underestimated you a little. Your attack made my arms a little numb. Akunalogia threw his arms hard and threw the two of them flying. Then moved the muscles of the arm. In terms of hard power, Akunalogia is definitely above the two. Advertisement. But don't forget, when Kong and Bunye attacked just now, they used the top armament Haki. That is the highest level, with the power of internal destruction. As the name suggests, an attack launched with top-notch armament Haki. No matter how terrible your defenses are, they can cause irreversible damage to the inside. If you want to evade the power of internal destruction, unless you also use the top armament Haki to counteract it. But Akunologia did not master the highest level of armament Haki. He can defend against the internal sabotage attacks of Kong and Bunye. It's all because his body is too scary. Even if the two use the power of internal destruction, it is difficult to penetrate the defense and directly cause damage to his internal body. This kind of flesh can even be described as a demon above a monster. As the arm just a little numb. Hearing his words, Kong took a breath unconsciously. To be honest, if Kong and Bunye join forces to fight Locks, they are also 100% sure that they can take it down. They even felt that, like the attack just now, even Locks couldn't easily block it. But Akunologia did it, and even the other party only said that his arm was a little numb. They guessed that the man in front of them was a monster, but they didn't expect what kind of terrifying monster it was. Boy, why do you want to be a crew member of Dean Riding? Why do you want to be a pirate? Bunye asked Akunologia loudly. Akunologia is an extremely proud, conceited, and powerful target. Logically speaking, as naval headquarters as the leader of this sea, shouldn't joining Marine be the most correct choice? Why should I explain this to you? Akunologia said coldly. But the strength of Akunologia, Liao Nuohao, and Bunye's toughness have been tested. No hesitation in joining Dean Riding's camp. Except for the first time, he didn't pay attention to anyone else. In his opinion, being Dean Riding's companion is his destination. Even if someone really objected, then let Akunologia use his strength to slap them in the face. Although, if you want to become Naval Headquarters Alternate Admiral, you need to climb up step by step. Because he didn't even have the slightest bounty. Akunologia, before joining the retrograde, did not send any news in this sea. Such a man, if he chooses to join the Marine, even if he directly becomes Naval Headquarters Alternate Admiral, I believe not many people will complain. It's a waste of your strength and talent for a man like you to become a pirate. Join our Marine, boy. As me, I can make you a Naval Headquarters Candidate Admiral. In the future, you will definitely be able to become Marine Admiral, work for this sea. Bunye wooed. Not even weaker than him at all. Bunye couldn't understand why there were so many unknown people in the sea who had no news, but possessed top strength or talent. In the original world, he was alone, disdained to be with anyone, and never put anyone in his eyes. You really said something that made me laugh. A mere Marine can't tolerate me. But after coming to this world, he has full respect for Dean Riding and other companions. 105 Operations of the Locks Pirates, Finding Uranus. You, being a pirate, your ultimate path will only be to perish. Becoming a member of our Marine is the path you should choose. Are you sure you want to be an enemy of us, the Marine, and the world government? Kong said seriously, with a solemn expression on his face. Going to perish. You really like to joke. I don't care about the Marine and the world government. In my opinion, you are just a group of pathetic weaklings who have never seen the world. Akunologia sneered. Don't be too arrogant, kid. Bunye said coldly. Reject it. Reject it. What do you mean by looking down on them? Conversation is meaningless with Bunye. What we have to consider now is to take him down quickly. Kong reminded. Makes sense. After the words fell, the two launched an offensive towards Akunologia again. On the other side, the New World Blade Sea area. In this sea area, a huge pirate ship is driving. This ship is the ship of the Locks Pirates. Just today, Locks convened a meeting of many officers on board. In the conference room, Locks sat in the center of the room, with his hands crossed in front of his chest. Around the conference room, there are many cadres of the Locks Pirates. 093, Captain Locks, what's the reason for summoning us in such a hurry? Golden Lion asked lightly, lying on a chair, lighting a cigar. Of course it's a big deal. Locks grinned. Oh, did something happen to be good for us Locks Pirates? Whitebeard asked, frowning slightly. I think you are also very clear about what the goal of our Locks Pirates is. That's right, to dominate the world. With our current strength, it is still difficult to dominate the world, but this does not mean that we have no chance. After my repeated inquiries and investigations, I have successfully found the whereabouts of the three ancient weapons, Uranus. The ancient weapon Uranus. Charlotte Linlin was taken aback when he heard this. The ancient weapon, it is this world, possesses the power to destroy the world. But there are very few clues about the ancient weapons, and they have been inquiring about the whereabouts of the ancient weapons these days. But strictly speaking, these cadres have not contributed much these days. After all, they had complained about Locks for a long time, and they were even thinking of finding a chance to escape. But unexpectedly, even Locks himself has personally investigated the whereabouts of the ancient weapons, and there is still progress. Could it be that our Locks Pirates are going to dominate the world? Silver Axe said excitedly. Ha ha ha, with the ancient weapon Uranus and the strength of Captain Locks, we will definitely overthrow the world government and become the overlord of this sea. Akoku laughed. Captain Locks, where is the ancient weapon Uranus? Without further ado, let's set out to find Uranus. John echoed. Akoku, John, and Silver Axe are also cadres on board. But they are not compatible with Golden Lion, Whitebeard, Charlotte Linlin and others. Likewise, they have a good relationship with Locks himself. Therefore, they follow Locks sincerely and want to make him the overlord of the world. Advertisement. No hurry, I just found a clue about the ancient weapon Uranus. I don't know exactly where it is. Lox shook his head slightly. Then why did you summon us today, Captain Lox? Golden Lion asked indifferently. Originally, when Lox said that he found out about Uranus's whereabouts, Golden Lion was still a little excited. However, the reason for his excitement is not the same as that of Akoku, John, Silver Axe and others. What he wants is to follow Lox and others to find Uranus first. When he found it, he ran away with Uranus. Because his devil fruit is exactly the lion fruit, he is very confident in his ability to escape. But now, Lox said that only a trace of clues was found in the investigation, and he also returned to his normal state of mind. According to my investigation, the final location of the ancient weapon, Baka, Uranus is engraved on the historical text, and I have already obtained one of the historical texts. As long as we get another 3 historical texts, then we will be able to find the historical text. In the text, find the whereabouts of the ancient weapon Uranus. This is the purpose of my calling you here today, to help me find the other 3 historical texts, and after Uranus dominates the world, you will be the main contributors. Lox looked at the many cadres and encouraged him. Yes, Captain Lox, we will definitely find another 3 historical texts. The overlord of this world will only be Captain Lox. Akoku flattered. It seems that our Lox pirates are not far from dominating the world. John laughed. Sure enough, this world can only be ruled by our Lox pirates in the end. Silver Axe said. Compare the excitement and motivation of the 3 of them. The faces of Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Charlotte and Linlin were quite calm. After all, they have absolutely no interest in championing Lox's world power. New world, a certain sea area. Akunologia is in a fierce confrontation with Kong and Bunye. But no matter what power Kong and Bunye used, they couldn't help Akunologia at all. As for Akunologia, in the face of the joint attack of the 2, he seemed to be able to do a job with ease, even with the tacit cooperation of the 2 many times, he found a flaw in it and launched a counterattack. One must know that although Kong and Bunye are the strong ones occupying the top of this sea, but their combat experience is only a few decades. And Akunologia has survived for hundreds of years. During these hundreds of years, Akunologia has experienced countless confrontations and fought life and death with countless strong men. And almost never lost. This kind of terrifying combat experience naturally completely overwhelmed Kong and Bunye. Boom. Akunologia covered Conqueror's Haki with his fists, and armament Haki, and punched Kong hard in the stomach. Oops. Kong's pupils contracted violently, and he quickly put his arms in front of his body, covering the top armament Haki for defense. But even after entering the defensive state, Akunologia's punch directly made him fly backwards a full distance of 100 meters, flew out of the boat, and landed on the sea. The huge momentum left him a long gap on the sea level. If it wasn't for Kong, who possessed the power of moonwalk and could step into the air, otherwise he might have fallen into the sea by now. Tread. Kong after using moonwalk, landed on the broken deck again. .106 Ace Kano joins the battle. This guy is too strong. After fighting with Marshal Bunye and Kong Admiral for so long, this guy doesn't have a single wound on his body. No, not only that, even Kong Admiral and Marshal Bunye still have the injuries he caused. With 1 against 2, not only did he not fall into the disadvantage, he was even slightly in the upper hand. This man has definitely surpassed Lox. The emergence of such a strong man is a disaster for our marine. On board, many marine vice admirals looked at Akunologia and talked about it. They were all shocked by his strength. After all, they knew the strength of Kong and Bunye too well. But just how the top powerhouses of naval headquarters teamed up, not only did not pose a threat to it. Instead, he suffered a certain degree of injury. Such a feat, even Lox, the strongest pirate in this sea, cannot do it. Do not. It can even be said that the strongest pirate in this sea is no longer Lox. It's Dean Riding's crew, Akunologia. What a tricky man, Bunye said solemnly. He and Kong have launched countless attacks in a very short period of time. But for Akunologia, it is almost ineffective. The man in front of them really put a lot of pressure on the 2 of them. Unexpectedly, one day, with the joint efforts of the 2 of us, we would not be able to win a man in a short period of time. Kong also sighed. Crash. There was a sound of surging currents on the sea surface, and a huge ship appeared in front of Kong and Bunye. This ship is the captain of the retrograde. Oops. Dean Riding and his crew are here too. Damn it, the man in front of me alone is enough to cause headaches for Kong Admiral and Marshal Bunye, and there are so many powerful people showing up, we are in trouble today. I never imagined that I would be on a mission with Marshal Bunye and Kong Admiral today, and my life would be in danger. A group of Marine Vice Admiral, looking at Ace Kano, and Dean Riding's retrograde not far away, fell into deep despair. Yes, with Akunologia alone, they are very reluctant to win. Now that so many people have come again, their chances of winning are already 0. They couldn't help but sigh. Kong and Bunye are the highest combat power in their naval headquarters. If you hadn't witnessed today's battle with your own eyes. Otherwise, who would believe that going on a mission with such 2 strong men would still encounter danger? Aboard the retrograde, Dean Riding stood in front of the railing and said, I said why it took so long, it turned out that I encountered a strong enemy, Lokia. Logically speaking, with a strong man like Akunologia, it should not be too easy to solve Marine. Even giving him half a minute is enough to get it done. Advertisement. But they played cards on the boat for a few minutes, but Akunologia never returned. So, Dean Riding ordered the retrograde to bring the ship over to investigate the situation. Arriving at the battlefield, Dean Riding noticed Bunye and Kong. Senju Hashirama rested his chin on his hand and said, I remember these two, one is the Marshal of Naval Headquarters and the other is Admiral of Naval Headquarters. No wonder, these two are the highest combat power of Naval Headquarters. Akunologia is indeed very strong, but it will take a little time to eliminate them in a short time. Ulquiorra Cipher nodded. They are two good strong men. Ace Kano raised the corner of his mouth. Dean Riding folded his hands in front of his chest, slightly raised the corners of his mouth, looked at the marine battleship and said, this should be the first meeting between us, right? Marine Marshal Bull. Although Dean Riding met Bunye for the first time. But it can be seen that there is hostility in Dean Riding's eyes. Not because of anything else, just because in the past few days, Bunye had threatened Dean Riding, threatening to use Buster Call to destroy Dor Vega. It was Bunye's dangerous speech that made Dean Riding want to attack the holy place Mariajoy. Give them some good juice to eat. Dean Riding, Bunye said with a heavy expression. I really didn't expect that the two of us had just talked a few days ago and met so soon. Dean Riding laughed. 0 for flowers, 0. I didn't expect to meet you just after leaving the Holy Land Mariajoy. What are you talking about, Dean Riding? Have you ever communicated with him? Senju Hashirama scratched his head in confusion listening to the conversation between the two. This B*********** D is too hateful. The retrograde also spoke out. At that time, Senju Hashirama and others were still on the retrograde. The time is now approaching noon, and at this time, Ace Kano exudes an extremely dangerous and terrifying aura all over his body. No matter how cruel they are, they still have a little bit of affection for Dor Vega. If it weren't for Bunye's words, Dean Riding was annoyed. This aura is not inferior to the dangerous aura emanating from Akunologia. Now that I heard that Bunye actually wanted to attack their territory, everyone stared at Bunye with a trace of anger. Well, I think you are also a little curious. Why did I suddenly propose to attack the holy land of Mariajoy? The reason is all because a few days ago, this guy said he would use Buster Call to bloodbath Dor Vega. Dean Riding spread his hands, explained towards Senju Hashirama and others. Is this the justice from Marine? In order to deal with us, the innocent people in Dor Vega have to be killed. I really hate it. Senju Hashirama snorted coldly. 0. This guy is too good to die. Urachiola Cipher echoed. Leave this disgusting B********* D to me to deal with. Ace Kano jumped up and came to the marine battleship. Naturally, it is not clear that Dean Riding has communicated with Bunye. After all, they also lived in Dor Vega for a while. Feeling the aura from Ace Kano, both Kong and Bunye felt tremendous pressure. Otherwise, how could he be idle and do such a crazy move? A few days ago, after Justin was killed, Dean Riding went to pick up summon points on the dilapidated marine warship alone, and then talked with Bunye. What? Is this guy actually trying to attack our territory? Tuor said with a gloomy expression upon hearing this. 107 The battle is over, the escaped marine. 107 The battle is over, the escaped marine. We, marine, have really neglected the most terrifying force. Kong couldn't help sighing while looking at the man in front of him. Fighting them is not a favorable choice, Kong, we will find a chance to escape later. Bunye reminded. Although as a marine, fleeing in the face of pirates is a shameful act. But Bunye is very clear that the danger of the 683 retrograde is even far beyond their imagination. These have forces above the Locks pirates, and they must escape to report to the world government. Otherwise, I believe that neither the marine nor the world government will be kept in the dark. I don't know that this sea has forces even more terrifying than the Locks pirates. I see. Kong nodded. He is also very clear that confronting the retrograde is not a wise choice. Now before them, the only good way is to jump out. Respond to my will, Rita the axe. Ace Kano shouted, and then a huge axe on the retrograde appeared in his hand. Then leave this opponent to me. Ace Kano pointed to Bunye. Not to mention that as a marshal, Bunye must be slightly stronger than Kong. In his view, his disrespectful opponent. In addition, he had heard Dean Riding's explanation just now. Now he is full of fighting spirit towards Bunye. Forget it, one opponent is enough to relieve my boredom. Akunologia knew that Ace Kano was determined to intervene in this battle. Advertisement. So he stopped forcing and let Ace Kano exit. Instead, he set his sights on Kong. Anyway, Kong is also the Admiral of the Naval Headquarters, and his strength is beyond anyone's imagination. It is enough, let him enjoy the fun of fighting. Then let's continue. Akunologia grinned. In the next second, he suddenly appeared in front of Kong like a ghost. The speed was so fast that even Kong, who had always turned on observation Haki, almost didn't react. 0. Boom. Before the fists of the two collided, there was a violent air current. Terrifying ripples swept across all directions like a violent storm. And directly in front of the two, purple-black electric sparks appeared. This is Conqueror's tangled collision. Akunologia is not the only one who has mastered such terrifying power. As Admiral of Naval Headquarters, the extremely talented Kong naturally possesses such terrifying power. It took only a few seconds for the fists of the two to collide, and cold sweat broke out on Kong's forehead. What a terrifying power, you are a monster. When Kong teamed up with Bunye in 4.0 before, they couldn't help Akunologia at all. It has found many loopholes by it. Now, relying on him alone to confront Akunologia. This naturally put him under unimaginable pressure. Use all your strength. Don't let this battle end so quickly, or it will be boring. Akunologia said indifferently. .108 How powerful is this axe? The fists of the two collided again for half a minute, and then Akunologia's arm strengthened. A terrifying sense of oppression fell on Kong's body immediately. Although Kong has the top armament Haki wrapped around his arm at this time, as well as the Conqueror's wrapped power. But feeling the absolutely tyrannical power from Akunologia, he still felt a little numb in his arms. Boom. The terrifying power made it difficult for Kong to stop him, and his body flew backwards at a very high speed, and then hit the sea surface heavily. There was a loud roar, as if someone dropped a huge bomb on the sea level. Dozens of high waves were set off, turbulent high in the sky, and Kong was not restored for a long time. 10. How is this possible? Before the battle lasted for a minute, Kong Admiral was knocked back again. Is this guy really human? His aura seems to have improved a bit compared to just now. Could it be that he didn't use all his strength in the battle just now? No, there is no hope. Today we are sure to die. Kong Admiral was one-on-one with him. He was knocked into the air after less than a minute in his hands. We are sure to lose. Damn, why did we encounter Dean Riding's horrible monsters? Looking at the scene in front of him, Marine Vice Admiral, who was already in despair, became even more desperate at this time. It was as if one foot had stepped into the gate of hell, and even gave up the hope of surviving. It won't be over so soon, right? Akunologia said with a slight headache. After Kong was knocked into the air by him, he didn't emerge from the sea for a long time, as if he had already defeated him. However, the fact is not what he thought. Because Kong knows that he is not Akunologia's opponent. So after being knocked into the sea by him, he ran away directly. The other side, Ace Kano is also engaged in a fierce confrontation with Bunye. Dang dang dang. ZZ chirp. Advertisement. Bunye entangles the top armament Haki and Conqueror's fists, and constantly collides with the axe in Ace Kano's hand. The confrontation again and again set off a wave of terror. Under the repeated attacks of the two, the deck under their feet was already overwhelmed and collapsed. There are only a few planks left, still struggling to support the bodies of the two. Your attack is full of flaws. Boom. Ace Kano held up the divine axe in his hand, and slashed down with all his strength. This is enough to prove how terrifying the power of Ace Kano's axe is. Shua. Damn it. The terrifying power directly caused the floor under his feet to be completely torn open. However, he stared at the sea under his feet and waited for a moment. His defense was breached by the terrible power of Ace Kano. There was a sound of metal strikes, and Ace Kano's divine axe slashed at Bunye's arms wrapped around armament Haki. This blow of Ace Kano is enough to cut off a mountain. If such an attack is cut on the body, one can imagine the damage it can cause. Bunye frowned, and quickly put his arms on his chest, trying to defend against Ace Kano's blow. Ace Kano originally thought that after Bunye was sunk by him, he would appear to fight him again soon. Ace Kano's axe rubbed against the space, making a slight cracking sound, and smashed towards Bunye with terrifying power, overwhelming and destroying everything. When Bunye never appeared, as if he had died in battle. On both sides of the deck, the waves soared up and stirred the sky, which can almost be described as covering the sky and blocking out the sun. And there was also a conspicuous bloodstain on Bunye's arm wrapped around the arm Seba 590 chi. And as the deck under Bunye's feet was torn apart, the force of Ace Kano's axe made Bunye's body sink directly into the deep sea. 109 Bunye, the retrograde is a bunch of monsters. Ace Kano frowned slightly, full of doubts. Although, he has great confidence in his own strength, and has determined that Marshal Bunye will not be his opponent. The battle between them only lasted for half a minute. As the Marshal of Naval Headquarters so weak, can't even carry an axe. It seems that the situation is the same on your side. If nothing happens to Ace Kano, they should have escaped. On the other side, Akunologia walked towards this side and said. The same is true for Kong, who confronted Akunologia. After being hit by him and flying into the sea, he fled directly. What a boring and disgusting enemy. Ace Kano snorted coldly. He had planned to kill Bunye in this place today. But it never occurred to him that this guy, Bunye, escaped after only fighting with him for a short while. You must know that the deep sea is extremely wide. Even if Ace Kano wants to catch up, it is very difficult to catch up. However, the fighting spirit in Ace Kano's heart has not been completely vented. Then he glanced at the trembling Marine Vice Admiral not far away. Shua. W. Accompanied by Ace Kano's destructive axe, all the Marines were split in half under his terrifying attack, blood flew everywhere, staining the sea under their feet, and they died completely. After doing all this, the two returned to the retrograde. It's a pity that Dean Riding escaped, otherwise this sea will be his burial place. Ace Kano said with a little regret. Advertisement. Don't worry, I think that after they escaped, the place where they finally returned should be the Holy Land Mariajoy, and the place we are going to is the Holy Land Mariajoy, so at the end, we will still meet them. Dean Riding spread his hands. Kong and Bunye met them at this place. Then they will definitely report the news to the people of the world government, and at the same time, the two of them will definitely return to the Holy Land Mariajoy in person. So, it doesn't matter if we don't win Bunye and Kong now. Because of Dean Riding, this time I'm ready to do a big job in the Holy Land of Mariajoy. On the other side, Kong and Bunye fled for a long time in the deep sea, and finally reached an island by relying on their swimming skills. After drying the clothes, the two came to the island and bought a phone bug. If we heard correctly, the next place that B********* D Dean writing is going is the Holy Land Mariajoy. Kong said grimly. The two of them naturally also heard what Dean writing said on the retrograde. However, their situation was too dangerous at that time, so they did not have the opportunity to discuss this statement. Now, after successfully escaping, recalling this sentence, Kong's expression is naturally extremely gloomy. This guy is really a lunatic. I just made a threat. This guy actually planned to attack the holy place Mariajoy, a dangerous move for the king. Bunye said with an abnormal headache. To be honest, he didn't really want to use Buster Call on Dor Vega at the time. He just wanted to threaten Dean writing with words, to suppress his spirit. But I never thought that Dean writing took this sentence seriously and is now heading to the Holy Land of Mariajoy. 110 Invasion of the Holy Land Mariajoy. Now, he's the only one to blame for threatening Dean writing. Now, it can be regarded as completely offending many monsters on the retrograde. We must report this news to the upper management as soon as possible, so that they can take precautions. At the same time, we must also return to the Holy Land Mariajoy to face them in the shortest possible time. Kong reminded him. Of course I know about this kind of thing. Bunye dialed a series of phone numbers through the phone bug. Blue, 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 brew, blue, brew, 1. The phone bug connected, and then slowly formed the appearance of an old man. Bunye, UB D, where are you going? UB D, do you still want to be the Marshal of the Marine? Do you know what the duty of being a Marshal is? UB D ran out from the Holy Land Mariajoy. What the hell are you trying to do? As soon as the phone was connected, 5 elders scolded from the opposite side. After all, a few days ago, Bunye suddenly disappeared in the Holy Land of Mariajoy. No matter how they talked to Bunye, they got no answer. This dereliction of duty naturally made 5 elders extremely angry. Now that Bunye took the initiative to call, he naturally had to curse. Advertisement. After I return to the Holy Land, I will accept all punishments, but now I have something very important to report to you. Facing 5 elders' abuse, Bunye did not refute, but solemnly said. Hearing Bunye's response, 5 elders' expression became more solemn and said, important thing. The guys from Dean writing are heading to the Holy Land of Mariajoy. If there is no accident, they will arrive in 2 days. Bunye responded truthfully. To the Holy Land Mariajoy. What do you mean? 5 elders raised his brows slightly, full of doubts. The Holy Land of Mariajoy is the base camp of their world government. Even the current maritime overlord, the Lox pirates dare not set foot in this place. Now Bunye says Dean writing is going to the Holy Land of Mariajoy. 0 for flowers. What does it mean? A pirate with a bounty of only 530 million Baileys wants to attack their holy land. This group of lunatics, for some reason, has regarded the world government as their main enemy. If nothing else happens, they will attack the Holy Land Mariajoy within 2 days. Ha ha ha, be you near, although I don't know where you got this stupid news, but Dean writing dares to attack our holy place. 5 elders said with disdain. Their world government has stood for 800 years and has an extraordinary heritage. There are countless powerhouses, and even the number of powerhouses is higher than naval headquarters. It can even be said that they didn't pay much attention to sea overlords like the Lox pirates. And what is a mere Dean writing in their eyes?